lawsuit that people are not paying attention to. They think it's one-sided when it's far from it, bro. It's far from it.
Yeah, there's a lot of I was telling this guy who was saying like, I don't understand why people are acting like this, and I said, if you were to side with Drake or you are interested in the Drake situation, what you're doing is you're affirming that that Kendrick's win wasn't entirely 100%. What you're somewhat admitting is that the label had a thumb on something. Now, I think regardless of the label doing anything, Kendrick would have won. You know, he had the right tracks, he had everything. So that like, there's no discussion there. But these people wanted to be like, nope, all this was Kendrick 100%. There was no 5%, there was no 10%. And I'm thinking, doesn't matter if there's a 5 or 10%. Like, listen, it is what it is. Like, he still would have won regardless of the label did anything. I think what Drake is trying to allege is like, yo, the label messed me up. They messed up my contracts. They messed up my name. Because now I'm going down the street and people are saying, wow, pedophile, like, you know, all that kind of shit. It's like, yeah, that's brand damage right there. And if it's just a one-on-one beef like the Meek Mill situation, all good. I'll push a T, all good. But the problem is, y'all did something different. Y'all had your thumb on the button. So I mean, I get it. I would fucking sue everyone too.
I would fucking sue. Like, what do you? I don't see why you would. I just don't get why you wouldn't sue for this when it reminds me of basketball with some of the contracts. With basketball, if you are part of a small market team, so if you're not part of a big city, the teams don't have the same money. So if that team gets a star player and they actually have a few good pieces, they will sometimes prevent at the end of the year when the committee comes together and they're voting for the people who go all pro NBA. That's the criteria that basketball players have to hit to get the super max contract.
Yeah.
So ex-basketball player was saying that sometimes the team tells the people that are voting not to vote for one of their players because they can't afford them to pay the supermax. So that's kind of like what happened here with the Drake situation. It was time for a new deal. They wanted more money, and the label was like, all right, let's do this to devalue, because all this whole beef, that's what pisses me off. I'm one of the biggest fans of Kendrick Lamar, but I'm also equally a big fan of Drake. And I know what both of them do very well. Kendrick is not a numbers guy. I don't know where the hell they got this from, but it pisses me off that everything that Kendrick does now gets compared to Drake. Like, Kendrick outsold Drake in this. He outsold Drake on Spotify with this. It's like, bro, no. Like, Kendrick he's a conscious rapper. He was underground. He's not going to sell as much as Drake. No matter what you want, you're just being clear biased and you don't know what you're talking about. And that was a way for them to devalue Drake.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I want to put this link to a subreddit post, and to see if anyone from that place wants to join up. So I'm just send that up.
Okay,
Game Awards. And I should have done this before. And I actually forgot.
No worries.
Handhelds. PlayStation handheld. Xbox handheld. What else? Game Awards, PlayStation handheld, Xbox handheld, and other gaming news. And I'll say want to join live.
Yo, over this holiday break, I've been replaying Cyberpunk.
Really, bro?
Yeah,
I'm about to. Okay, go on.
oh, my bad, my bad. I
No,
haven't.
go on.
My other thing is I haven't played it since I first played it. This is my first full playthrough. Damn, that game. Holy shit, man. God damn. CD Projekt Red did a hell of a job on that game.
Yeah, do you know what I'll say? I'm actually in complete agreement. So I'm actually about to buy it, and
Yeah.
I was gonna get it on Steam. Well, like I'm using like CD keys, and on Steam it's like 40 something bucks for the whole edition with the
Everything.
Cyberpunk.
Okay.
But on CD keys, if I get it on GOG, it's like 30 bucks, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get that.
Yeah.
But I know everyone's like, oh, get Steam. Like my friends were like, don't get it on Steam, bro. And I'm like, listen, I'm gonna do a quick Google search. It'll tell me that it sucks on GOG. Fair enough, but they're pretty much saying like, yeah, it's just the same thing.
It shouldn't because it's CD. I think CD Projekt Red owns GOG. So
yeah. Exactly. So in my head, I'm just thinking like I want to pay an extra 15 bucks. Now I know some people, they like the idea of like I have all my games in one location, the ecosystem, which is fair because I get that too, because I've bought games on the Windows Store. Like I have my Metaphor on the Xbox version with crossplay, so I actually was willing to get it on the Xbox on the Windows Store, but it ain't even there. Like they don't even port it to that Windows Store front. So but anyways, yeah, you're right. I was gonna get it too as well, and it looks really good. I finished it already, so I already cleared the game. However, I haven't been able to play the DLC, and I really want to play that. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna like suck it up. I'm just gonna start over again.
Yeah, the good thing is replaying it. My only gripe about replaying it and what has prevented me from replaying the game is just unlocking everything again. Like I would have wanted to get it on my PC. Because of that, I would have just got a cheat engine and then jack my money up and then buy like all the shit I originally had. But it's all good. But yeah, it's CD Projekt Red has made me. It's made me really appreciate what they did with this game from the beginning, because playing it when it first dropped, it wasn't that I didn't know the game was great. It's just now that I got to replay it, I was like, holy shit. Like, yeah, some of the aspects changed from when I first played it, but not a lot. Like the design structure of the game, how you go through each mission, how you meet the characters, how it just continues to open up. I'm like, damn, bro. Damn. This is a work of art.
Yeah, nah. Wait, so you haven't actually started playing the DLC part, right?
No. I'm still in the beginning.
Okay. Then I guess we're probably gonna start. Like, I would start it like right now, even because I was deciding either I do this or I do Baldur's Gate 3. It makes sense to do Baldur's Gate 3 because I haven't played that game yet.
Yeah.
But that's a huge game, and I think with Cyberpunk it might be an easier play just because I have a better idea of like what to do, where to go. And there's mods now, so I might to dabble in with the PC.
Yeah.
PC gaming is, I can just see how this is like when I think about Xbox, and it was like them pushing you towards PC. I think it kind of makes so much sense. And like if you were to go from Xbox to something else, or even from console to anything else, it has to be PC. There's just so much more to do. Mods, better graphics, just all these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm becoming a more of a PC gamer. However, what I really do love is the play everywhere, where I can play my Xbox.
Yeah, man.
And I'm telling you, like I play Metaphor in bed, by streaming. I play it on the PC. I've played Metaphor on all the freaking devices I can.
Yeah.
And I just think that's such a cool feature. I was in London for the weekend, and I was in the hotel room, and I was just like, you know what, I want a game. So I brought my phone. I have the controller, and I started streaming it to my mobile phone, and it's so good. And my friend's like, yo, you're bored. I could have bought the PSP for you to play. I'm like, PSP. I can stream. I can stream Xbox Series X on my phone, bro. I don't need no damn PSP. So yeah, it's such a really cool feature. PC streaming, all these things. I think like we're like in some of the best parts of gaming in terms of diversity of games.
Yeah.
And when I say diversity of games, I don't want to trigger nobody. I don't mean like black people, brown people. I just mean different types of games. Okay, strategy games, action games. Like can you imagine playing a game like Genshin Impact on your mobile phone back in the days? That's a AAA blockbuster game. You got to pay $60 for.
I'm like, bro, how you can play games now it's so nice. The freedom of where you could just play it. Like that, like the mobile. I love how the mobileness is coming back. Like PlayStation's coming out with a handheld, Xbox, just all these companies making handhelds. I just think is a good idea.
Yeah, no, I agree. I want to talk about. Actually, we could do handhelds, or we could do the game awards, the nominations. We can run through some of them. That's important.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Both topics are great.
Yeah. Okay. Then let's okay. Let me not go to start voting. Let's go to view all categories. Right. We go to.
Yep.
Let me
I'm
share
pulling
this
that up
screen.
on my end.
Can you see the screen?
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. So first up, we have the game of the year, which probably should have been the last one I chose, but we'll run through the important ones.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, you see Elden Ring Shadow of the entry there, and you've also seen Balatro. Those are probably the two most controversial decisions. How did you feel about that? Were you a bit annoyed, peeved off? Do you think these games deserve to be there?
Erdtree is an expansion, so I definitely understand why it shouldn't be there. Why you're like, nah, it doesn't make sense. I think it's very this feels too on the nose of we just we kind of want to stir up the community just so they can just so we can have the game awards be talked about. You know what I mean? For the search engine. I felt like that's all this was, just to cause us a commotion. The Erdtree, because there's no goddamn way you got.
Hello. Yo, I think the homie's gone. Okay. I don't know if the stream. I don't know if it's the problem is on my end or. Oh crap. Oh, his power went out. Does that happen like in in this day and age? People's powers just drop. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, well, I guess it's just me, and there's that. Okay, so for my game of the year pick, it was between Astrobots, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy, Metaphor, and the winner is going to be, for me, Metaphor. I think it's very clear that Metaphor is going to take this, or if not, Final Fantasy Rebirth. My take behind this is Black Myth Wukong is a good game. However, I don't think it's a great game, at least from what I can see. People are choosing this game because it's a fun game. It's different. It's Chinese culture. But from a just gaming perspective, I don't think people look at this and think this is a highlight. When you look at the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, I think the reason why this is probably one of the best games there, but it's not also a puppy full package game, and it's a game that's an expansion. And my theory here is a lot of these, not even expansions, but sequels don't really tend to have the same flair as their predecessor. So when you look at a game like Breath of the Wild, that blew everyone away. It was great. It was interesting. It was perfect. It was different. When you look at a game like Tears of the Kingdom, as good as it is, it's still quite similar to the to its predecessor. So games that are new and different will always have a greater effect, I believe. So Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree is not that kind of game. Hence, I don't think it's going to win. Now, Balatro is completely new, right? And it doesn't. If Balatro 2 is great, I don't think it even comes close to winning. But Balatro is a game that a lot of people like. It's a card game. People find it enjoyable. I would say Balatro could win it, but I don't really think it should. I actually don't really think it should be there. I would replace Balatro with Silent Hill 2, or maybe even a game such as Warhammer. To be honest, it's a card game, bro, and I don't want to sound bad or crazy or someone who is dismissive towards all different types of games. I just never thought a card game that is based off elements of poker would make its way towards the Game of the Year nominations, and I think it's taking away another game's opportunity, aka Persona, for example, right? Persona 3 remake came out, or if not even Persona 3, then a game like Warhammer, which I think is a real good callback towards the old school shooting games of the past, during the 360 PS3 era. Now, one game that's not a surprise inclusion here is Astrobot. I haven't played it, but it does give you that Super Mario Galaxy reminiscent vibes, so I can see why people would want this game to be there. It's cute, it's fun, it's family friendly, and from an execution point of view, I think it's probably one of the best platformers that's come out of recent. So 100% makes perfect sense, and I think that's it. So for me, it would be Astrobot. I think Final Fantasy Rebirth is just a good quality AAA game that has a good story, good adventure, good great mechanics, so it was always going to be nominated 100%. And that's it for the Game of the Year. I will give it to Metaphor because I think Metaphor is essentially Elden Ring's it's essentially From Software's huge callback, right? When you think about From Software, when you think about Elden Ring, it's basically Sekiro, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Demon Souls all put into one. It's everything that studio has learned and has improved upon, and then they've said, okay, this is everything, and here is the open world version of all our hard works into this product. And Metaphor is essentially that for Atlas. It's the Shinigami games, it's the Persona games, Persona 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of that into one game, saying here is the best parts of these games, here are some refined structures, this is our Elden Ring, here you go. And it's Atlas's best-selling game as of today. Sorry, as of today, based on their recent sales. So yeah, I'm 100% down for Metaphor winning. I don't think there's going to be too much of a complaint if any of these games actually takes the win. The only ones that will be controversial will be Balatro and Elden Ring. For the sake of it, I hope they don't really win. But listen, I'm not a hater. If they win, they win. I just hope Metaphor takes it. I think it would be a good shout out to Sega and Atlas for what they've been doing for the past couple of years. Then again, Balatro is a game that was developed by one guy. Very impressive, and that will kind of be a sign to the industry that listen, it's not about the AAA numbers. It's not about the amazing graphics. You could take a simple idea and you can make something special, and we as a community will respond in kind and give you this award because that's just who we are. We're not like these zombies that just follows a specific type of genre. But yeah, that's my take for the Game of the Year. And if any of you guys want to tell me yours, or if you want to come on stream and talk about it, just let me know. I'll pass you a link. I could even drop it in the stream chat. And let's move on to the next category, which is, sorry about that, best game direction. Okay, it's essentially the main entities for best game of the year. So for this one, best game direction, I think it's hard for me to really pinpoint this one because I haven't played Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. So I'm probably gonna lean towards more. Okay, I think Ken Wall is back.
There we
Hey, what's
go.
up?
Yeah,
Oh,
my
you're
dad
back.
was doing stuff.
Okay,
All right.
I give my take on what I think is the game of the year.
All
Um,
right.
let's go to you. What do you think? Well, first of all, what do you think about the nominees? And and second of all, what do you think about, or who do you think is going to win?
I think the nominees were okay. I didn't. Again, Erdtree is a slot killer for sure. Just because I don't give a shit about it, Balatro. I know that's gonna be like, oh, you don't play indie games, but I don't give a shit. That should even. I don't care, bro. I heard it's like a roguelike card game, right? It's like a roguelike card game.
It is indeed, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, man, fuck out of here with that shit. I only care about AAA. I don't care, but
Look at this guy.
all right, those two games. All right, truly, my only problem is Erdtree. Everything else is fine. Bias wise, I think. I actually think this year's Call of Duty deserved to be up there because it was significantly better than most years. And then Warhammer, or if Warhammer couldn't be on here, I think it should have gotten a little bit more love in the other categories. But other than that, I think this is okay. My game of the year, what I think is going to be game of the year is Black Myth. I think like Elden Ring, I think it's got a good story to it. It's the first AAA Chinese game. This is the first.
Sorry, man. I'm gonna say something real quick. I need to just go downstairs and get something from the door.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
But you keep doing your thing. You keep
going,
talking and telling people, your thoughts. I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
All right, bet. So while Ty is finishing taking a shit, let me explain why Black Myth Wukong is what I think is going to be. Why I think is going to be game of the year. I believe it's going to be game of the year because similar to Elden Ring, it's got a story behind it. Astrobot, there's not really a story behind it, other than it's PlayStation more creative game compared to most. Metaphor, Final Fantasy, Metaphor kind of came out of nowhere unless you knew about it. Final Fantasy, come on now, that's a staple. But Black Myth almost came out of nowhere. There was a big train behind it. Like when we first saw it, it was like, holy shit, this looks really good. Again, AAA Chinese company, we don't get games from that region. And for them to come out of nowhere to deliver this huge hit that sold millions of copies, and most importantly, there are going to be so many games that are going to follow it. This game set the standard for that region where they made a statement on some All Might shit. They were like, I am here. We are here to add to the gaming industry. So I think they got a pretty good story behind them when it comes to Black Myth Wukong. So that's my vote. I say that story just like Elden Ring. I think From Software, they were doing their thing. Dark Souls, if you knew, you knew. All the community people that loved those From Software games rocked with it. Then Sekiro comes out, and Sekiro had this, I would say, definitely ushered in the From Software games to a little bit more casuals than most. But yeah, From Software games kept building momentum each release, and then Elden Ring came out, and that just shattered all expectations. They were here to stay. They delivered on their game. So yeah, I think Black Myth Wukong in that aspect, I think it's gonna win it. I think it's gonna win game of the year. I wasn't a big fan of Black Myth Wukong. I thought The exploration was dumb as, but I thought it was stupid. I really hated the exploration for that game. But hey, I don't really have a stake in the game of the year. Game of the year is something that's like super subjective. None of these games are my game of the year. Well, maybe Astrobot. I'm playing through Astrobot right now. I played like an hour and a half of it last night. So far, it's like an 8 out of 10. I'm having a lot of fun with that game. But yeah, Black Myth. I have a feeling it's gonna win it. I have a feeling. Also, I think the Game Awards, it's some that has a lot of Chinese rewards in it. So we'll see, man. We will definitely see. I don't think Final Fantasy is gonna win it. I think Final Fantasy would just be too easy of a. I don't know. It doesn't do anything too special. Final Fantasy. Metaphor, I think, is a close second. I definitely think Metaphor is a second just by the waves it made. It made big ass waves when it dropped. I was like, this many people are into this game. Okay. That clearly shows me I don't know shit about what's going on.
Yo, I'm back.
Oh, yo. Yeah, man. I was saying Metaphor is probably a second for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because when that game came out, damn, I didn't know how many people were into that.
Yeah, I was saying earlier on that Metaphor is basically Atlas's Elden Ring. It's a combination of, like, if you look at Elden Ring, it's a combination of all of from Software's top games, Sekiro, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and Bloodborne. All those games put into an open world genre, and it's like, this is what we've learned over this like last 15-20 years, and this is our Magnus opium.
I got you.
And Metaphor is exactly the same thing. It's the Persona, it's the Shinigami games all put into one, to Shinigami Tensei all put into one, to say this is the best of what we've created, and from our story perspective, from a music, from a gameplay perspective, and this is it. So I think it's going to win. I would be surprised if it doesn't win. And if it doesn't win, I mean, I guess Final Fantasy is a good shout out. Like, I think every single game.
Black Myth?
I think the issue with Black Myth is it's a good game, but I don't think it's a great game. Like, I think even out of all the rated games on this list, Black Myth is the lowest. I think it's like 82, 83. So the difference here is, Black Myth is some game science, Chinese developer. So and it's Chinese culture. So I understand why people like it. But even at that, we got to remember that like most of the sales. This is not me trying to separate the Game Awards into West and East. Yeah. But most of those sales came from the East, right? Now, if they votes, then from a player's choice perspective, I could see it winning. But in terms of how people in the West feel about this game, was this really the best game that came out this year? I think the answer is no.
Nah. But I was saying my most likely to win this award is Metaphor and Black Myth. Those were the two I was going with.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad. I think that's a good shout actually. So, but yeah, funny enough, the next category is very, very similar. It's best game direction, and guess what? It's the exact same nominees.
Same? What?
Yeah. Now, in terms of best game direction, what does that really mean? I suppose it's just like how you took your game going forward. I guess this was a hard one. Maybe Earthtree might actually be good in this one. Well, I would say maybe Black Myth, just because of the vibes it gives you from a Chinese perspective. So I think that because that one is unique, I think that Black Myth actually has a chance to take it. What's your take?
Damn, this one awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction. See, it's like creative vision.
Oh, yeah, you're right there. I missed that. Creative vision.
I gotta put Astrobot because I just started playing that last night, and the creativity in that game it's up there. it's up there. But at the same time, I think wouldn't Metaphor? I think
you're
Metaphor checks off the boxes because Astrobot's a great game, but I don't think it's necessarily innovative.
right.
Black Myth is not innovative.
Mm-hmm.
Is Metaphor innovative? I feel like
It is. It is.
Yeah, I think Metaphor I think it does a little bit better job with in this category as well.
You know, I think you're right about that. I think Metaphor probably should take that. It deals with very complex discussions. It's different in terms of the way it does its day-night structure. Out of all the games up on this list now, Metaphor is, from a gaming perspective, it's the most unique. Now, I would actually say Balathro is the most different.
Yeah.
But we're talking about real games, right? not some card stuff. I would say Metaphor is the most unique for sure. So the next one that we have is Best Narrative, and this is we have the Xbox Hellblade 2 up on the list for this one. So what are your thoughts for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game?
Shit, man, this is crazy, but I didn't play any of these games. I didn't play any of these games, man. Hellblade, I didn't hear that many people ranting and raving about the story.
No, the story sucks, bro.
I didn't hear that many people talk about it. I would probably go with Final Fantasy Rebirth on this one. That's what I'm gonna go with.
I think this one is just hard because I don't really know. I haven't played all these games, right? So I'm gonna be biased. First of all, I'm gonna say Hellblade 2 is a no. I think that narrative was just they went for a very confusing, or not really confusing, like a how can I explain it? Like, are you in a dream or not in a dream kind of situation, and I wasn't feeling that story. I think Silent Hill 2, people already kind of know the story, so I don't know if that's even going to win. It's a remake after all. The two ones that I can see taking it is Metaphor, Refantasio, and Final Fantasy Rebirth. But I'm probably gonna, because Metaphor's narrative is really focused on a lot of very hot topics, like capitalism, elements of socialism, racism, discrimination. I think that in itself is going to be the reason why it takes it. Final Fantasy Rebirth probably would have been a close second, but I think Metaphor is going to take it just based off that.
You see, like there's a lot of snubbing going on, because I felt the game that could have easily been in this category was Banisher's Ghost of New Eden.
Yes,
that came out in the beginning of the year. I would have liked to see that, because again, like you said, Silent Hill 2 was a remake, so there's definitely some laziness when it came to the voters this year. Like they're like, let's just put it in. Let's try. I'm trying to get home early. Let's not have a debate.
Yeah, fair enough. And the next one that we have is Best Art Direction. For outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. I think for this one, if Elden Ring wasn't a winner before, I think it could take it. I think its art direction is pretty interesting aesthetically. Metaphor, I think, has a really good art direction. It's quite diverse in the way they portray different characters. It's colorful, and at the same time, it's also quite dark. So that's taking it. I mean, I think that's going to take it. Astrobot's art direction is, it's cute, it's done well, but I don't see that winning. Wukong, I haven't seen too much of it, but I've seen enough to say probably not. It's different. It's it's a different culture, so that's always a W. Right? But I don't know if it's as diverse as Metaphor in terms of just the vibrant and what it gives you. So for this one, I would probably say Metaphor, but I could see how the other ones could take it too.
That's like, damn, bro, like they really put Erdtree again.
Yeah, man, these guys are frauds,
like they
man.
really
they love
what are you doing? Like it's an expand, like it's straight up just an expansion of the game. Like, all right, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Astrobot with this game.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Astrobot with this category. I think it's got a lot of diverse worlds. It's similar to like a
Mario Galaxy.
like a Mario game. Yeah, Mario Galaxy. It's got a lot of worlds. Like again, I played about an hour and a half. Every single place I've been to was vastly different than each level that I played, the previous level. So
Okay, hold on. I think Romeo is going to want to join. You don't mind?
yeah, of course.
Let me send him a link as well now. I say, here you go. Okay, so Astrobot's a good shout as well. I that's my thing. I think most of these titles that we're seeing up is not like a case of like, oh, you're definitely wrong or whatever it is. I could see very good arguments for every single one of them. This one is the best score and music. I'm almost dismissing Stellar Blade straight up. I've heard some of the music, nothing that grabbed me. Silent Hill 2, I'm probably dismissing that shit as well. Astrobot, I haven't heard it, but
pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay, pretty good. I think when I think about these RPG games, like The Witcher and Final Fantasy, and they always have crazy freaking music.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's probably between Final Fantasy and Metaphor. I know Metaphor's music. I know it's dope. I know when the game came out, what you had was a lot of people literally doing the dancing to the battle music. So Metaphor is already like taking my vote, but I haven't played Final Fantasy. But I would not be surprised whatsoever if Square Enix has amazing music that I just haven't heard. So, just based off me playing, I'm going for Metaphor. But
I agree. Because it's the only game I played on this list. Well, I did play Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade, I've heard mixed things. I've seen people like the track from it. Okay. But again, I'm gonna go with Astrobot. That's the only game But like you said, Final Fantasy, their stuff goes hard. Their stuff goes hard. So I'm not surprised if it wins.
Okay. Next up is best. I don't give a shit about audio design.
Oh yeah. What's the fuck?
Okay, but best performance. We can do this one. Yeah. Okay. So awarded to an individual for voice over acting, motion, or performance capture. First up is Brianna White from Final Fantasy, Hannah Teller from Life is Strange, Humberly Gonzalez from Star Wars Outlaws, Luke Roberts from Silent Hill 2, and Melina Jojerns, I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure, from Hellblade 2. In terms of the games I've actually played, I've only played Hellblade 2, and I've seen actually that's it. I've only played Hellblade 2, but I've seen enough of Star Wars Outlaws for me, and a lot of trailers and gameplay footage from streamers to have an idea of what I feel about this one. I would go for Melina. I think she's actually going to win. Yeah. I think it'd be cool to have Humberly Gonzalez win it, especially after the whole attack on Star Wars Outlaws. And what I thought was crazy, right? Well, it was so bad. They showed her face like this, right?
Yeah.
And they included the actual game character with the weirdest looking ugly ass face ever. I'm like, these guys are trolls, man.
She baddie, she cute.
Like they're trying to start some cultural bullshit by showing that. But I wouldn't mind if she won it, but I think maybe Melina might get it. So what's your take?
Yeah, those are the two. A close one would be Brianna White for Final Fantasy. She does Aerith. I'm just going off of like big characters that we already know. Like, I don't think Life is Strange is gonna win shit. I don't think most people know about that enough. Again, Silent Hill 2 didn't really cause too much attention. Yeah, it didn't do too much. So yeah, it's definitely between Humberly and Melina. But I see Melina more, like you said. I agree with that.
Okay, I think because also like we know like she's really big into the motion capture, right? Yeah, and Ninja Theory was shown that so much. So yeah, I think it would make sense for her to win it, especially
Yeah.
because that game just bombed. You might want to just give a PT award for that. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. Innovation and
We don't give a
accessibility.
shit.
Yeah, I don't really care. I think Call of Duty apparently did a good job with it, and so did Dragon Age, but I don't really care too much. Games for impact. Okay. I think this one might be interesting because, okay, for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message, I think this might be Xbox's Hellblade right now. I think they have a good chance.
Yeah.
I think Tales of Kanzera has a good chance because we know about the story with his father.
But
true.
Okay.
No, go on.
It just I don't like how Tales of Kanzara is on here. Like this seems like the woke category, if you were to say it.
Games for games for impact for sure.
Because almost every game, like, why isn't you could do other games could be on here, is what I'm saying. Like, they put all the minority, it feels like, all the characters with, like, Tales of Kanzara. Yeah, I get the message of it, but you kind of know what the story of that in terms of social media, how it was dragged. Life is Strange, a girl protagonist. Like, I just kind of feel like this was, hey, if this had a minority, let's put it on there. Because technically, couldn't Metaphor go in this category?
Impact. Yeah, I think you're right.
Because you were saying it has social messaging. So why couldn't? Yeah, that. But besides the point, yeah, I think that, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just looking. I'm kind of looking at this for a problem when there doesn't need to be one. But okay. I would like Tales of Kanzara. I played that Kanzara to win. I like that game. I played the demo of it. I didn't get to finish it, but I liked it enough. So that's my pick.
I think I think that's a very good shout. I think Hellblade 2 is probably gonna take it. I could see Life is Strange doing something, but I think the last three, Life is Strange, Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kanzara, have a really, really good shot.
Yeah.
I'm taking that. So but let's go to the next category, which is best ongoing game. This one is interesting because I feel like Sea of Thieves at some point should have won one of these.
Oh yeah.
But they didn't really drop anything new last year, I believe. So Destiny 2 is up, Diablo is there, Final Fantasy MMO is there, Fortnite is there, Helldivers 2. Now I think Fortnite has a really good shout here. Those guys
this year, I always find it. I agree. I always find it very hard with this because when you add Fortnite, I think they're so consistent, bro. Like every year they kill it. They add something completely new, something that people, and when they add stuff that are new to the game, it peaks. Like they just peaked with this. I think they added some Juice World kind of thing. It passes goddamn concurrent players. It peaked at like 14 million. So I'm like, I don't get how you could put Fortnite like every year and it not win every year. So I always pick Fortnite, but yeah, I agree because Helldivers 2, besides its first few months, they dropped the ball. Final Fantasy, it doesn't come close to what Fortnite is doing. So yeah, I'm going with Fortnite. Without a doubt.
Okay, I think Fortnite. I will go for it as well. I think it makes sense. Helldivers 2, it's doing well from a startup perspective, but I'm more in line with Fortnite 2. Rome, welcome.
What's up?
Best
ongoing game should be Helldivers 2, by the way.
Helldivers 2.
I mean, yeah, like I'm kind of just jumping in at the end here, but I'm looking, and like Fortnite obviously is the king of that sector, but like I mean, no game really captured. Like I think that the fact that Helldivers 2 isn't nominated for Game of the Year is absurd to me. It literally was the hottest game for the first 4 months of the year. I mean, I guess you could argue that maybe it dropped off a cliff, and that's the argument why it shouldn't win ongoing game. But I mean,
Okay, well, you know what? Let's get your quick, like, 2-second take on the first one is Game of the Year. Which one do you think is taking it?
oh man, I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Unfortunately, this year was kind of a weird year where that's the only game out of these that I've played. I really want to play Astrobot. I really want to play Metaphor. I hear great things about Balatro. I don't think Elden Ring should be nominated. It's DLC.
Yeah, we all agree. We all agree there.
I've hit a point after the last few years where it's like game awards are like totally subjective and really silly, but at the end of the day, like it's a lot of fun to have this discourse and talk about like what's the best game. And so like you kind of want Jeff and the Game Awards to kind of have that validity that you see from maybe more mainstream award shows from other art forms like film, television, music, etc., etc. So it's like you want the Game Awards to like you project this need for the Game Awards to have like a level of legitimacy. When at the end of the day, it's just we're watching for the trailers and we'll argue about Game of the Year and we'll have a great time. But like I think Jeff needs to do a better job regardless of how silly and subjective these awards are. It's like the game didn't come out this year. Like by that logic, right? Like I played Octopath Traveler 1 this year for the second time I've ever played it. And I did the end game stuff this year, right? But I didn't play the end game stuff the first time around. So like, could that be Game of the Year? That's content that I haven't played before. So like, can I say, like, would it make sense if I said that was the Game of the Year for me this year? I don't think it would. Like, I don't know. It's silly to me. It's like, it's DLC. Like, you need the base game to play it. So it's like, I don't know.
I would actually, I think everyone else will pretty much agree with you. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Earth Tree was probably the one that most people feel it shouldn't be there. But even at that, I'm looking at Balatro. I'm just like, who? Well, how? Why? I'm being very slanderous towards it because I'm like, it's a freaking card game, bro. Like, what are we doing here?
Me, I think the criteria for Game of the Year is it's got to make an impact. Like it can't just be, this was a niche title that broke out. Like, I get that, but this is Game of the Year. It's you always have to take into account it's mainstream. So a lot of indie games are unfortunately going to get snubbed. It's got to make sense. So it's got to have the quality and the impact that's got to be put on this list, at least to me.
Well, how about this? I'll ask you guys this question then. When you're deciding on, I hate to put you guys on the spot, but when you're deciding about, what's going to be Game of the Year, what factors do you consider? And if you can even explain, like, in terms of from a ratio perspective, how would you do it, right? So for some people, they could say, it's 60% sales. That's important, right? So a game that has sold really well, aka a Black Myth Wukong, that's a leverage that it has. But then there's a 20% element of impact, right? And aka Black Myth Wukong has that impact as well. And the other 20% just could be like, how good the game actually is. Those are the 3 points I actually look at. However, I'm not saying I look at sales from a 60% point of view. I think I'll actually look at it from a more 50 to 60%. Is the game actually quality? And that's why, a game like Wukong wouldn't really fit that bill, because as good as it is, it's not a Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's not a, Final Fantasy Rebirth. It's not a Metaphor. It doesn't fulfill that category fully of this is an amazing experience that you have to play. Now, from an impact point of view, Wukong does meet that category, and from a sales point of view, it does. However, I think it falls short enough in the quality game aspect that I would look at a game like Metaphor and say impact, it had like a lot. I would say sales wise, it didn't have a lot in the sense of 20 million sales, but it's Atlas's best selling game, so that's that's notable. And just from a quality perspective, the game is great. So to me, like, Atlas's Metaphor takes a bigger pie of that equation, so it wins it from me. So for you guys, I'll go to you first. From how do you categorize Game of the Year?
I mean, for me, I think the top one is always going to come down to quality, right? I mean, like, I don't have an issue with like a Balatro or an indie game getting nominated. I think that at the end of the day, the Game of the Year is like, these are the 5 games that we look back on this year, and they had the highest quality. they left an impact. I do think impact obviously matters. If it's an amazing game that 20,000 people play, like obviously that's going to hurt its impact. I think reach definitely matters as well. And I think that also there has to be some sort of I guess impact would also be this. So maybe it's kind of redundant, but just that reach that it gets to the culture of gaming, where it's just again, I think Helldivers 2 should be nominated. I really do. I just think that from January when this game launched, and people tell me, Devereaux says it on the podcast, oh, you have an Xbox bias. I'm sitting here saying that a PlayStation game should be nominated and should probably even maybe win, possibly. I just think that the game captured the zeitgeist of the genre, of the culture, where it's just no matter what I was doing from January to April, Helldivers 2 was part of the gaming culture. Whether I was scrolling through TikTok, in the morning, or playing a game, or going on YouTube, it was everywhere. You have people who are really pushing for it to come to Xbox, to the point where the director's oh, well, maybe, it's up to Phil and Sony to figure that out. It's just, I think it comes down to quality, reach, and kind of the impact on the culture to an extent. But quality should be the main thing you're looking at.
How about you, Ken? What's your how do you separate, how do you categorize Game of the Year?
Yeah, I don't have the values, but I have the categories for sure. I think it's sales, impact, quality / innovation, and I think that's it. Yeah, sales, impact, quality, innovation, and those categories. Yeah. I would consider it's got to check whatever checks the most boxes off should win it.
And I think you're right. I think most people would actually categorize it in that way. It's just I was always interested to know how people evaluate impact, because I was talk to some guys and they'll tell me, well, sales, because Black Myth Wukong should be there, and so should Helldivers 2, because those games sold the most. And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't mean it's the best game. I value more game than actual sales, because listen, casuals could buy Fortnite, they could buy whatever. That doesn't mean it's the best game. It just means it's the game that got the most people interested. Doesn't mean the best game, of course.
That's why I don't like looking at sales for that personally. That's just not I get it. Sales are important because it obviously means you're doing something right. But I mean, if we're looking at sales, then Call of Duty wins Game of the Year every year. Which, to be fair, Black Ops 6 this year is incredible. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually playing it right now.
I was saying it should have one of the categories it should have been put in.
Yeah,
I think Jeff could definitely do a better job. There should be a best expansion, or there should be more categories. I think he gets really weird about certain things. Is anyone at the Game Awards really man, so who do you hope wins best esports player? It's just and I'm not look, I'm not saying that esports is an incredible part of the gaming sphere, and the people that are nominated and all people that play esports. I back in the day I used to play Call of Duty competitively on Game Battle, so I a very small I've seen what that is and the amount of skill it takes. So I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but it's just when I'm sitting down to watch the Game Awards, I really don't care. I really don't care about player and stuff.
How about this question? Me and Ken already answered it. For best performance, who do you think takes it? Brianna White, Hannah Talley, Humbly Gonzalez from Star Wars Outlaws, Luke Roberts from Silent Hill 2, or Melina Jorgens from Hellblade 2?
I mean, we go back and forth at this. I would probably go with Melina Jorgens. I think Hannah Tell did a good job in Life is Strange 2. Brianna White's also really good, but I mean, I think Melina Jorgens carries a lot of the heavy lifting on Hellblade, obviously 1 and 2 with her performances. Yeah. So I would go Melina Jorgens there.
Yeah, I think me and Ken actually gave her that. She did a great performance. Despite of what people feel about the game, what I feel about the game.
What you feel about the game.
She did a fantastic job on that. So there's some categories here that we don't care about, like best community support. I think at some point it would be nice if Sea of Thieves got this. But if you want to talk about best community support, I think Baldur's Gate. This one's a bit biased because I think Fortnite has a good shout again. No Man's Sky has a great shout. Baldur's Gate 3, they've just dropped a new drop patches and DLCs. However, I don't think it's enough in the sense of what of what No Man's Sky's been doing. I don't know if I'll give it. I wouldn't give it to Helldivers 2. I think they dropped the game. The game was good, but I don't know if they've been dropping massive expansions in the lead up. So
I think that they've done a good job. They have a whole guy at that studio whose main job is like lore master or whatever. I forget what his title is, or game master. Like he's a guy that like he's like, okay, well in the meta or the story, like we're gonna drop this content for the community. Maybe that's an ongoing game thing more, but like they have a guy whose job is like to be like this game master kind of role there. I think that's kind of cool, actually.
Okay, well, Ken, what are your thoughts? Who do you think gets best community support?
I'm going with Fortnite. I'm going with Fortnite.
Yeah.
It is the king of the sphere. I totally get that. Yeah.
Fortnite is just killing it, man. Like a lot of the updates, I'm always just so impressed by what they're able to pull off with their updates.
Yeah, listen, I think so too as well. I think from a future perspective, I think the best community support is probably No Man's Sky because they've dropped so much content. And if you told me that, Starfield was going to have the amount of upgrades or updates that No Man's Sky has in the space of 5 years or whatever, that game would be freaking amazing. But yeah, I think my vote goes to Fortnite as well on this one. Next up is best independent game, and I think most of us will all agree on this one. My take here is Balatro. I think that's gonna take it for sure.
Now all the games here are in fact indie games this year, right?
I know, right? It's not it's not a publisher, sneaking in.
There's no Dave the Diver in there this year. No, I think I would also go Balatro. I think the reason, and you were asking why it was nominated for Game of the Year earlier, it's because a lot of the critics really love it. Like I follow like a lot of guys on X and Blue Sky, and it's just a bunch of like game critics and people in the games industry being like, just want to go back and play more Balatro. Don't be surprised if that wins Game of the Year. By the way, I know people will lose their shit if it happens.
It can't win.
It might win, dude. Like I'm just telling, like the people that vote on this stuff, they go online and they say, "Wow, I love this game. I'm obsessed." You ever follow Special Nick from Xbox Era or like other people? They love it. They just talk about it all the time.
Can you imagine you Atlas, you make Metaphor 7 years of development time, you've done the story, you're talking about capitalism being evil, racism, discrimination, you've done all that work here at a freaking card game, poker game. Nah, it can't happen.
Listen, again, you could hate my prophecy now, I'll be the bad. I don't like it. I hate to be the messenger, but don't be surprised if we're sitting there, and Balatro wins. I mean, It Takes Two won that year. What was it, 2 years ago?
But It Takes Two was justified, though. That was a good game. That was an actual game.
I don't think that was the best game that year by a long shot. I was very disappointed that year. I forget what else was on the list, but
I think Deathloop was there, right?
Deathloop was there. There were a few games that were nominated for Game of the Year that I was shocked because I loved Hazelight. I think they're a great developer, but I was just like, really? Like I thought It Takes Two was their worst game to date. I didn't think it was that great.
This is one category that as I was voting for all these categories, I was like, man, I'm such a fraud. I haven't even played most of these games, and I'm just picking which game I like based on the art style. So this one that's up is best mobile game. I don't know if Rome is probably the best one to actually talk about this one because you might have played maybe 1 or 2 games here. I've played 0.
I'm not a mobile guy, but I'm going to tell you right now, I log in 3 times a day. I'm not a mobile gamer. Say it right off the bat. Like games have tried, games have failed. Like we're talking like when Xbox has tried like Gears of War and Doom and other little things have popped up, and even Pokemon Go. Like I have games on my phone that's not how I consume games. It's not a genre that speaks to me in the slightest. But I log in 3 times a day for Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. I log in when I wake up. I open my pack. I log in when I'm on my break at lunch, and I do a battle or 2 and do a wonder pick. And then when I get home, it's time for another free pack open. I do it then, and then I splurge on a few of the points I've accrued through the day, and I open up a 3rd pack. And it's like I haven't spent a dime on the game yet, but like the game. Like I really want to. I'm trying to hold off on it, but it's just like it's the Pokemon craze, just in a different. It's in the card game form. If you grew up in the 90s, like I had my binders, I have a few binders to this day, and I just think it's people would push it kind of like maybe like the Balatro kind of approach where it's like, is it really a game? But it's, I mean, you do battle, do the, you do the battling with the cards as well. So I love it. I think it's great,
Well, Ken, I'll ask you a question then. When it comes to mobile games, what are the reasons why you haven't dived into it at all?
It's due to the fact that it's the way I use my phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's more that, like, I don't want to be on my phone doing one thing for a long time, like a game. If I'm going to play a game,
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm going to be locked in for an hour, maybe a few hours.
Okay.
A mobile game on my phone, I know that's going to kill my battery, which I need. I need my battery for my phone. I don't want to constantly be charging it. And it's not the games I want to play at the instant. Like, I remember when Clash of Clans was my thing back in the day. I had it on my what was it? The iPod? Yeah, like I had it on my iPod. And then I had that was before I had a phone, so it was locked in for that specifically. And when I got my phone, eventually I downloaded Clash of Clans. I started playing less of it. So it's just more due to the fact that I don't use my phone that way.
Okay. It's a question that I've always I've been trying to really get an answer to kind of dictate how I feel about it, because on the screen right now we have Zenless Zero, and this is a game that has a lot of downloads, and this is it's a mobile phone game. So whenever people say things like, "Oh, I just don't like adventure detailed games," I only play games like Pokemon, all these little small mini games, I'm like, but that's just not true, because Genshin Impact has millions of players on the mobile phone. Call of Duty has millions of players on the mobile phone. But for some reason, like, you have dudes be like, yeah, I can play Genshin Impact and Zenless Zero and Honkai Star Rail, which is a freaking JRPG game. But as soon as you tell me I need to play Final Fantasy, it's like, no, I can't. It's like, bro, it doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. But listen, that's a whole different discussion.
I mean, to be fair, I do agree with you, Ken. Like, I don't like, that's not how I use my phone either.
Yeah.
So like, that's why I'm pushing for Pokemon to win the award, because that is not how I consume games. That's not how I use my phone. But like, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. I've been on the game twice today.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know what else to say other than that. It's just like, that's why I think it should win.
The next one that's up is best VR. I haven't played any of these games, but what I will say is that VR has seen a rise in quality games, right? My friend has played Batman Arkham Shadow, and he says it's dope. I know somebody who's played Asgard's Wrath 2. He says it's dope as well. Like, these are AAA blockbuster games for VR. So I guess the question isn't really which one do you think is going to win in this category? But the question is, would you guys ever be interested in VR games, just based on the fact that, like, we're actually getting more quality high-end VR games? Rome?
Sorry about that. I was taking a work text. I would say best VR.
No. The question is, I mean, because we haven't played any of these games, but do you think that based on the fact that VR has been improving, like Batman Arkham Shadow is pretty much a AAA Batman game, in VR. So is Asgard's Wrath 2. Metro Awakening looks really, really freaking good. Do you see any of these trailers and think, yeah, I'm actually interested in buying a VR headset?
Oh, for sure. I've been like that for probably a year and a half now, 2 years. Money. I don't want to spend the 500 to get a Meta. Dever has a Meta, and he keeps telling me he's going to bring it over more, and then he doesn't. So like, that's that's why I haven't bought one, because he's like, oh, I'll just bring mine over, and you can just play it there. I was like, yeah, it sounds great, and then he doesn't bring it over. Yeah. So, but no, I mean, I think VR has hit a point where it's like the quality is it's really strong there. But I mean, you kind of look at it, and it hasn't really. I mean, it still really hasn't taken off that much, which is kind of, I guess, it's always just going to be a gimmick. Like, I think at this point, like, I think the quality of the games is there. You have the IP there. Like obviously we're talking like Batman's there, like other like big hits like Among Us has a VR version. Like there's a lot of stuff in there now where it's just like if there's a reason other than money why you're not into VR, like you're probably just not ever going to be into VR.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can agree with some of that. Ken, you've actually, you had a Apple, whatever that thing was called again. You did a
Apple
review on
Trash
it.
Pro. That's what it was
Apple
called.
Trash Pro. You had some good things to say and some bad things to say. But from a gaming perspective, what's your take on VR's future?
So I find it similar to what I discovered when playing on my PC. It's just that barrier in terms of you got to put this huge thing on your head. It's on your head 24/7, and it's more of a comfortability factor. When it comes to PC, I realize that I like playing on my console when it comes to certain games, like a lot of story games. I like playing on my couch or in my bed. Like I just like the convenience and the setup of how I play my console, like how that's just streamlined. You turn it on, boom, that's it. I don't have to. I like, at least with my PC, it blows a lot of heat. So I gotta like set up, like I gotta open up my window a little bit. That's probably something on my PC that I gotta add some shit to it, but it's stuff like that. So similar to VR, it's just putting it on and then always knowing it's on. And then for me, I do get affected by just the resolution and stuff. So like when I take it off, I usually have a headache or my head doesn't feel right. Like I can't watch anything like on the TV or anything after an hour.
Yeah.
When I use like my headset.
So do you think like if they released a device that was more like goggles, like right?
I think I can get down with that if it's goggles.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I mean, the times I've played it, after about like an hour, I'm just like, I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Okay. I had an Oculus Quest 3. Listen, it was dope. It was good. But my issue with it was that I wasn't having a great time with these new AAA great games. Like they weren't bad, but a part of me just wanted to sit down on the couch and just no stress, having to walk around and look around. It's a lot more interactive, which is good in some cases. But overall, when you just kind of come back from work, you just want to chill, man. VR takes a little bit too much of an effort to get into. So. But anyways, listen, next up is the best action game, and I think this one I find this one a little bit tricky for me. By my default stance would be Black Myth Wukong, but I think Call of Duty has a good shout. I think Helldivers 2 has a good shout. I think Stellar Blade has a decent shout, but I think Warhammer Space Marine 2, just because it's everyone says it's a throwback to the old school days of Xbox 360. I think that has a good shout too. I really couldn't tell you who's going to win, but if I'm looking on it based on a sales perspective on what impact it had, I would say Black Myth Wukong. Carwell, how about you?
Bro, I don't care. I got a bias. It's Warhammer. Warhammer, that like their goal when they were making the game was they wanted to do a power fantasy with Warhammer, and there was an update that kind of messed with that, and they completely reverted that change. And they had like a whole statement where they were like, yo, our goal with this game is, again, it's a power fantasy. And I think out of all the games, I would say the close rival is Black Myth Wukong, but Black Myth Wukong I think takes a little bit, you got to be a little bit more skillful with Black Myth Wukong. You can't just do a bunch of bullshit. But Warhammer just has that a little bit of that Gears feeling, but more of a superhero element to it, and it's a lot of fun. I just think Warhammer, when it comes to the action in that game, I think it delivers more of a, like, its fun factor is at a 10. Okay. I think it really delivered this year.
Did you play co-op or single player?
I played both. I played a little bit of the campaign single, and then I finished it with my brother.
Okay, sounds good. Rome, what's your take?
I have not played Warhammer, and I really want to. So I totally believe that it's as great as you're saying, Ken. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is fucking dope.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. I've been playing Call of Duty like since the beginning. I get it every year. And so and I'm a very honest fan about it. Like, some of them are terrible. Some of them are excellent. This is definitely one of the better ones that they've put out, and probably the last Call of Duty that I would say was anywhere near as good as this was Black Ops 4, but that was just because I really loved their Battle Royale mode Blackout. I would probably have to go back even further. I just think this is a total package game. I know Call
Black
of Duty
Ops
has,
2. I think for me, I haven't enjoyed a Call of Duty since Black Ops 2.
That's usually that's about where we go back to. Yeah, like I would say, like, for me, Black Ops 1 was probably the best Call of Duty overall.
Yeah.
But then again, like the campaign was excellent. It has a lot of variety. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's some open world stuff going on there, which makes me wonder, like, could Call of Duty try to lean into that a little bit more in the future? I mean, what was there worked pretty well, and that was just one level. So the campaign's got a really good narrative going on there. It's got nice, as far as a action Call of Duty like popcorn movie kind of game can go. The writing's pretty decent. The game's fun. Story's fun. A lot of variety. Then you jump over to multiplayer. They have this new Omni movement, which kind of really like shakes things up. And like a lot of my friends who are like a little bit older than me, they're starting to not like it because it's very fast paced. But I think you get used to it. I don't think it's too bad. But the multiplayer is as solid as it's ever been. It's just an all around excellent multiplayer. And then Zombies is just, it's incredible. Like, I've played that as well. It's just an all around package where you could, like, whatever you want to do, as long as you can get into a first person shooter, there's no reason why you wouldn't like Black Ops 6. If you like the single player stuff, solid. Multiplayer, solid. You like the co-op stuff with Zombies, solid. So, and it's on Game Pass, so I didn't even pay for it this year. So, which is incredible, by the way.
Dude, like, the package felt so premium, bro. Like, Zombies, they give you 2 maps, and not only like the 2 maps catered to the big zombie fan base that they now have to pay attention to. It paid attention to the people that like doing Easter eggs, and then it paid attention to the people who don't necessarily like doing the Easter eggs. Yep. And then you have the multiplayer people, and then you have the campaign. Like, they just delivered with this year's Call of Duty.
And I'll even add on to it. So obviously, like, I know, Ty, we talk a lot about how I don't like the live service model. Like, I even got to give it to them on that front. Yeah. So, like, Season 1 launched, and like they added Prop Hunt last week. Love Prop Hunt. That's great. They have a whole new Zombies map coming out next week. Like they had 3 maps drop a couple weeks ago, and now they have 3 more multiplayer maps dropping on the 5th. So I think that's this week. Yeah, this week. So they're killing it.
This Black Ops 6 is top. This is a really good game. It's
really good. So I'm going Black Ops 6 on this one. I'm playing it right now. Like I said, I'm literally doing it right now.
I got a question for you, Ken. You said you signed up to Game Pass to play Call of Duty Black Ops, and you're like, I'm only doing it for 1 month, and I'm out. So, are you still signed on to Game Pass, or what's the story?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably keep Game Pass till February. I'm probably gonna keep it till February 2025, bro.
When you said that, I was like, man, you guys doesn't know, man. You know, Phil knows what you're trying to do. Like, you're gonna stay sub done, and there you are.
I'm happy I was wrong. I'm definitely happy I was wrong about this.
It's so much value to Game Pass. Like, it's just I was a big believer in Game Pass beforehand. I mean, obviously, when Xbox started to do this new non-exclusivity thing, like, I was skeptical, like, well, clearly Game Pass isn't doing well enough for them. But it's like with Activision and Bethesda, it's just like, man, like, and they haven't even added the back catalog for Activision yet. Yeah, and you're just sitting here and looking at Game Pass, and it's just like Call of Duty, like there's so much value, so much content from that one game. It's just like,
based on what we saw with Black Ops 6, right? I'm talking from the single player perspective. So, you know, Treyarch is dope, and Treyarch, Raven, whatever. Do you guys, from an expansion point of view for ABK or the Call of Duty teams, do you think it would be better if these teams worked on a new IP? So they brought their, the same skills that they did with Black Ops 6 to a new IP, or do you think they should create a side game for Call of Duty? Think about think about like Gears of War or a Halo ODST. So do you think they should keep the Call of Duty brand name and make it like a new game, like Call of Duty whatever space, like a whole new story mode, like say 500 years in the future, that's separate from the main franchise? Or do you think, just leave the Call of Duty franchise alone and just create something completely brand new? What are your thoughts, Ron?
I mean, I think Call of Duty is kind of a juggernaut as it is. I don't think they need to change it up too much. I mean, like, obviously I want developers to make what they want to make. I know you and I have disagreed on that in the past, but if Treyarch wants to do something different, like, I think you should try to let them. But I think you look at the success that Black Ops 6 is having, and it's like, I can't blame Xbox if they look at Treyarch and like, hey, you guys are going to keep making these Call of Duties
forever and ever.
They're really good. But I mean, you never know. I mean, teams like Obsidian had like 5 games in development over the last few years at the same time. So I don't think it's out of like the realm of possibility that, there's been rumblings over the last year or two, I think.
Yeah, there's been.
There have been some rumblings that people at Treyarch might be making something different.
Yeah, they opened a new studio, I think, in Poland.
Right. Maybe. There was something about it, yeah.
Yeah, they're opening one, so I don't know what that's about. I know for me, because I'm a big fan of the campaign, I wish sometimes they didn't play it a little I wish they didn't play a little safe in terms of the political commentary, but I know that could be sensitive to some people. I just wish there was a campaign that really didn't play it safe with what goes on in like war and stuff like that. Like I would love them to do a Spec Ops The Line kind of game where they talk about certain shit. I think it would be great where it's just a single player game that that's probably like 8 to 10 hours or 8 to 15 hours, something like that. That digs a little deeper into the Call of Duty universe. I just don't see the need of doing a new IP, because I think Call of Duty, the world of Call of Duty is very good. Like it's very broad. There doesn't need to be another IP in my opinion, but that's just me.
No, I think that makes sense. I would say if they were to make a new game, listen, attaching the Call of Duty brand to that new game is gonna be, it's gonna get eyes for it on it for sure. But I think it's also good to have different IPs that just completely deal with different topics, right? So just call it something different. Maybe go for a sci-fi Mass Effect, like first-person shooter. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, that.
But as you guys said, like we do know like they're making new games, so yeah, I think the future looks good for Activision Blizzard, especially under Xbox management, as long as Matt Booty does his fucking job.
I was about to say, Ty, Ty, just give him the fucking
compliment. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like Matt Booty. It's gonna take a while for me to get on board with that guy.
I can't trust.
I hope I'm wrong.
No, I agree. I agree. I think Matt Booty's done a pretty bad job. But I thought I was about to say, I was like, Ty, are you about to pay Xbox management a compliment? But nope. He circled right back into
at the end of the day, the release should know Call of Duty under Xbox management, even though it was Activision Blizzard. But I always give props. If you release it under your banner, you release it under your banner. So well done. But this is what I think Xbox does well. They allow people to just do whatever the hell they want to do, and if those people do an amazing job, then everyone's happy. But when people do a bad job,
it's gotta be good.
What the hell's going on? But listen, let's pivot to some Xbox news. I didn't really have much lined up here. It was supposed to be just about Game Awards and stuff, but I think there is one important one that I think I'd like to get you guys' opinions on, and it was when Phil Spencer said there is no red lines. So after bringing 4 Xbox exclusives to PlayStation and Switch earlier this year, Phil Spencer has refused to rule out bringing out tentpole Microsoft franchises to other platforms. According to Spencer, there are no red lines preventing certain Xbox exclusives from launching on PlayStation. Now, I'm not really here to talk about Phil Spencer's red lines per se. I already know how he feels about that. But for you guys, do you think there's a red line for the Xbox ecosystem? And do you think there's a red line? Is there a red line for you? So what I mean by that is, What game franchise going over do you think is actually going to hurt the brand? Like, it's going to make, people be like, okay, screw Xbox, we're done here. And the separate question is, what game franchise for you do you think going over hurts? Like, it hurts you actually. And you're like, what? I think, Xbox has kind of like made their mind up on what they want to do. It's different from my vision, so I'm just gonna bounce off. Or is it a case of like, what, there really isn't any red lines for me? Like, it's all good if Xbox does whatever they want to do. I'm always still gonna be an Xbox guy, all fair and square. I'll go to you first, Ken.
They broke my heart already, so none of the games matter anymore. I'm not gonna like I said, I was one of the few people that was upset when they did the PC deal with Game Pass. Mm-hmm. I was one of those people because I was like, I know where this is heading. Like, I just did not like when they did that. So that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. So I don't really have a problem with the games. I just think my process is don't just shotgun blast it. Have a strategy of when you do it, because I want these games to do well when they come to other platforms. Like, there should really be a rollout when Halo comes. Like, you got to make that a big deal. You really got to make that a big deal when it comes. Gears of War, treat those games that built the brand with its respect when they come over to the other platform. That's all I ask.
All right. I mean, that's a good shout out. Rome, how about you?
So I think that Xbox is currently training you, not you, but like us, to change our perspective a little bit with the new marketing. This is an Xbox. Everything's an Xbox. Obviously, we're talking about things coming to other platforms. And I think that they want you to look at the ecosystem as the most important thing. Doesn't matter where it is necessarily. And I think that with Xbox, the strategy, like, obviously it's different, and it's something that on a core level, it doesn't feel right. At least to me, it doesn't, right? Where it's just like, well, if you're taking away from your platform, like Ken said, like putting the games on PC at the same time and the PC Game Pass and all that, it's just like, you're just going to hurt your brand and your ecosystem. But if they get you to a point where, the average consumer is like, hey, like, what is Xbox? Like, it is the storefront. It is the ecosystem. It's going on the Xbox app on whatever device I'm using and loading up Game Pass and loading up these games. So I think for them, the red line not existing is kind of because of that. Like, that's just what they see the future as, where it's just like Halo will always be synonymous with Xbox, even if it goes to PlayStation. And you asked an interesting question, or part of your question was about the ecosystem. Is there a red line on the ecosystem? I think if Xbox had their way, you would open up Xbox games on PlayStation and the Xbox ecosystem would be there. Mm-hmm. Like, you would sign in. They don't call it Xbox Live anymore, I guess. But like, you would sign in to Xbox Live. Like, you would have your gamer tag. You would have your friends list. You would have your achievements. You would have these things. Like, that's what they want. Now, is PlayStation going to play along with that? Maybe in like 10, 15, 20 years. But I just think that's kind of it. In terms of like red lines for me, like, honestly, at this point, as long as the ecosystem survives, like, that's what matters to me. Like, I'm an Xbox guy, but like, I want people to enjoy these games that I'm playing. If more people, like, there's a guy I work with, right? And he's primarily a PlayStation guy. Never played a single Gears of War in his life. And I've tried to explain to him and talk to him about Gears of War. And like, I love Gears of War. It's one of my favorite games of all time, favorite franchise of all time. Probably my favorite non-Nintendo franchise of all time. And I try to, I just tell him how great it is and how like it's almost frustrating. Like, I want you to play these games. Mm-hmm. But he's not going to play them on Xbox, and he doesn't have a gaming PC. He doesn't have an Xbox, he doesn't have a PC, plays on PlayStation, and that's the only place he plays games. So he's never going to play Gears of War until it goes there. It's like, I guess my point is, like, I don't mind more people playing the games I love as long as the ecosystem that I want to spend my time and money in continues to exist. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now with the red lines. It's just, as long as I could be happy, I don't mind if other people are happy too, I guess. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, I would agree there as well. I think for me, there is no red lines per se. I expect everything to go over. In fact, I heard a rumor that Halo Infinite is making its way to the Switch too. I don't know if it's going to be announced as a launch title. The rumor was based off there's an Xbox guy who said he heard a rumor, and he was saying it to Jez, and Jez was just kind of like, yeah. Like, Jez didn't officially confirm it, but the way he was like saying, yeah, it just kind of indicates that like Jez knows Halo is kind of coming over.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like Rand was like, whoa, what did you just say, bro? And whenever you know there's no pushback, it means that the other guy knows as well that it's coming over. So yeah, I think Halo's gonna make its way there. Next up, we can talk about PlayStation buying Kodowaka, or Kodowako, whatever they're called.
Oh, Katakawa.
Katakawa, yes, my bad. Fuck me.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what
what the hell am I saying? So listen, there is no real I don't think there's any real controversy here, from a gaming perspective. But Katakawa, say that shit again. Katakawa, they do have some influence over the anime industry. Roma, I'll go to you first. Do you see what are the chances of this being blocked? And if it's not, and do you think it's from a gaming perspective or from an anime perspective? And maybe are we in a situation where we're going to see PlayStation have to make concessions to keep certain games off that From Software makes for Xbox and Nintendo?
So I'm not going to try and talk about stuff that I don't know as much about, because I mean, I do watch some anime, and I do dabble and enjoy anime, but I'm not going to sit here and try to act like I'm some anime expert. But I in my opinion, from my perspective, I don't see it as much of a problem in the gaming sphere. But I do kind of see Sony really starting to pick up a monopoly with anime and anime distribution, at least. I mean, the stuff that they've been doing over the last few years. I remember like they bought Crunchyroll, and then what was the other one that they had? It was
Funimation.
Thank you. So they closed down Funimation streaming and then raised the price on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, that shit was
just like right after they did it. It's like,
that was insane.
Wow.
That's literally a monopoly. Like that's like literally what Sony and everyone was fighting Xbox about with Activision, all that. It's just like, hey, you're gonna buy it, make it exclusive, and raise prices. And it's like Sony literally did that in the anime space. So I don't want Sony to go through with this, just because I don't want there to be a monopoly in anything that I even remotely care about. So I would like to see there not be a monopoly in anime. I mean, I don't think that would be very good for them. I mean, gaming wise though, From Software is a great developer. Yeah, I don't think it's a problem for them. I mean, like obviously From Software makes the best Souls-like games, obviously, but I mean, it's not like, I don't know. I just don't see. Maybe it's because I just don't value. I don't look at that genre as like a big FPS, like an overarching genre of like shooters, RPGs. Like I look at Souls-like as kind of like a subgenre in like the action genre, I guess. Maybe that's...
Well, do you think that there's a chance that Nintendo and Microsoft could turn around and say, hey, listen, at the end of the day, we made a concession for Call of Duty. These motherfuckers got to make a concession too. Or do you think Elden Ring or the Souls-like games are just not big enough, like Call of Duty, for that to occur?
I don't think Nintendo, for one, cares. Look, Nintendo's going to do their own thing. Like, if it's great for Nintendo that Xbox went out of their way to sign that deal where Call of Duty is going to start coming to Nintendo consoles, Nintendo probably wouldn't have cared either way. Like, obviously they care about the sales and making money. So, like, they're like, oh, of course we'll put Call of Duty. Like, this is a great deal for us. We support this. But it's like, if Xbox hadn't said 2 words to Nintendo, like, would have Nintendo said anything? Probably not. I don't think so. Will Xbox say something? That's a real tough one, actually, because I think it would be smart for Xbox to at least kind of like throw that out there, call Hiroki Totoki up, my guy Hiroki Totoki.
Like, yeah, we can make this very easy for you, or we can make this very hard.
Yeah, right. Like, we'll just give Hiroki a call and just be like, hey, like, why don't we just keep this going? But like at the same time, I could also see Xbox just like not doing a damn thing, because they're probably just like, they don't want to be stuck in another courtroom situation with an acquisition, and I feel like they're trying to play. I feel like they're trying to play the nice guy right now, like where it's just like, hey, we got what we wanted. We're not gonna stir the pot. Like, let's just hope that they follow suit, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know.
There's actually a take that I think is important from a regulatory point of view, why publishers and everyone else is not going to complain. And I think the reason for that is because if you make a complaint and then you get called up from a legal perspective, now you got to open yourself up to discovery, and now they're looking at your details and your dealings. And the problem with Netflix even complaining from an anime perspective is, if Netflix becomes a party to this complaint, then Netflix books get opened up, and then the regulators actually have information on your studio. So the next time in the future when they want to actually go after you, they already have pre-knowledge. They already know XYZ. They already know your market share, and then they could just attack you. So a lot of these guys are kind of very reluctant to actually step in. They might not like it, but they're like, nah, but this is if we do this, it's going to bite us back in the future. But Kenwell, what's your take on this? Do you think Sony's going to be able to purchase these guys without little to no resistance?
No, because what I found interesting, I was watching Last Stand Media, was that the origins of this story was it was just a rumor at first, and then the company Katakawa comes out and they specifically confirmed that this was just they confirmed that there was talks, and what basically they're implying is the company wants to put out the word going like, hey, this company, we're up for grabs. They offered us some money. The intent is now they can get more eyes to go like, oh, we want in on that, so give us more money. We're glad to go with Sony, but if somebody can give us some more money, then now we can go the other way. So I think now, I mean, if the other, I don't know what the anime companies are like, the distributors and all of that. I don't know the other companies that can play in this field, but it would be nice that Sony doesn't get a monopoly like what Rome is saying, because what they did was foul. It was foul. So, and I watch anime. We all watch anime, and if it's gonna make it more hard to watch anime, then fuck that. I don't want them having shit.
Yeah, I thought that was. I thought the Funimation shit was insane.
That was insane.
They literally bought them and just. I didn't understand. Sorry, I didn't understand how the hell that could have happened. In the first place. It just seems like something that, yeah, like I know, right? It's something that the regulatory body should have just looked straight into.
Yeah, but, it is crazy that no one questioned it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people actually bought content on Funimation, and Sony's like, "Yeah, that shit you bought, sorry, it's gone now. Go subscribe to Crunchyroll instead. Like pay us.
And we raised the price.
Yeah, it's insane. But speaking of Nintendo, we've heard news now that Sony is looking to make a next gen handheld, and what we can call a PS Vita sequel. And we have also heard, Phil Spencer's said a few times now that Xbox is looking to make a handheld that won't be coming for another couple of years. However, the question then remains, does Nintendo need to worry about this? Do they need to, change their strategy somewhat? Or is it a case where Nintendo is pretty much still exempt from competing with these guys? Rome, Kenwell, I'll go to you first. What's your take?
I believe, yes, they do have to be, they definitely got to be mindful of these other companies coming in, because now they have competition, close competition. Like, this isn't just, this is more, it relates to, of course, the software. They go hand in hand, but now you got to, now they're competing with hardware, which I think that now's the issue. Nintendo's hardware isn't going to be as powerful as these other companies. And when it comes to that, when you have Sony that comes close to you in terms of the quality of games, and now they're giving you better hardware, I think that's going to be in the same field as Nintendo, what they're doing with the handhelds. Again, they're not gonna, when the Switch came out, how many handhelds were there? Now when the Switch 2 comes out, you're gonna have the PlayStation Portal, the Steam Deck, you're gonna have the what's that? The Asus
Rogue Ally.
The Rogue Ally. You're gonna have a lot more stuff to compete with. You have options now when it comes to handhelds. You don't have you're not. It's not gonna just be the Switch where you can get that kind of experience. So Nintendo's gonna have to be mindful. They're gonna have to be mindful of what they're gonna do.
Okay, that's a fair take. I think me and you are more in line with that. How about you, Rome? Do you think Nintendo needs to be cautious of Sony and Microsoft entering into their domain again? Or is Nintendo in a position where these guys can't really affect them? And in terms of losing market share, any significant market share, nothing is going to happen.
So I think that obviously there's going to be a section of the market that they would have to at least be mindful of possibly losing. I mean, look, the Switch is the clear leader in the handheld market right now. But again, there's not a lot of competition. So if someone is looking for a high-end, handheld, playing a lot of the major first-party games, more options means you're going to lure people away. I mean, that's a given. But at the same time, it's Nintendo. They're with this whole future of games being in more places, Sony will budge on that before Nintendo budges on that. I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
You will not see a Mario game. I'll go as far as, and you can maybe hold me to this, over the next 20 years, you will not see a Mario game anywhere but a Nintendo platform or a mobile device like a phone. You're not going to see it on PC. You're not going to see it on Xbox or PlayStation. That's just not what they do. Nintendo, even if the rest of the industry goes that way, Nintendo is notoriously slow in some things when it comes to the industry, and I think that would be one of them. I just think that they have that first party software. I mean, we've seen it when Nintendo is on an island. What happens? They still make money. People weren't buying the Wii U, and it is considered overall a failure. But you look at those software sales on that Wii U console, and it's just they weren't doing that badly. But no, I mean, I think that Nintendo, also keeping in mind that Xbox will probably put their games on Nintendo platforms, and I do see PlayStation possibly doing it in the future. I think it's years away, but if it ends up being where it's the Steam Deck and Nintendo win that, because it's everyone loves Nintendo. If you're already on a Nintendo platform, you're probably going to stay on that platform. If you're already on Steam, you're probably going to stay on Steam. You're just getting all the games from Xbox and PlayStation as well. So, I mean, I don't know. I want to say Nintendo should be worried or mindful, but at the end of the day, I haven't seen anything that would make me feel like Nintendo should be worried. It could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe I'm 100% wrong on this, but Nintendo's always been on their own little island doing their thing, and they've always been very profitable doing that. So,
Yeah, I think my stance was always the Switch 2 will sell around 80 to probably 130 million units, or 40, and I think that's the reason why that's so broad, is because we just don't know what Nintendo Switch 2 is going to look like, right? We don't know what Sony's going to do with their handheld. We don't know what Xbox is going to do with their handheld. So there's a lot of guessing games going on here. But I do think they need to be mindful. I don't think they're going to lose crazy market share. But so a lot of Nintendo's consoles have been predicated on gimmicks. I don't say that as a jab or an insult to them, but the GameCube was the last product that they released that was that went head to head with the big boys, right? And I said this, and it triggered some guy that I was talking to. I was like, let's be quite frank. Sony and Microsoft ran Nintendo out of the console space. They bullied them away. They're completely gone.
That's
and
wrong, okay? That's just,
they ran them out of the console space. They had no choice but to.
Oh yeah, how did Nintendo's next console do after the GameCube? How did that?
No one thinks the Wii was was one of those kind of consoles.
Doesn't matter. It's a console. It was one of the best selling consoles of all time, regardless.
They couldn't. Yeah, you know what? They couldn't compete, so they had to do something completely different, which is fine. And
let me rephrase your stance a little bit to make it a little bit more correct.
Go ahead.
So I think what you're trying to say is that Xbox and PlayStation did kind of win over more of the hardcore mature gamers from the Nintendo ecosystem. I think that would be a more correct stance. The GameCube did well enough, and then the Wii went on to be, I think the PS2 still has a beat, or maybe the Wii's not. It's either the one or number one or number two all time best selling console. So it's like, coming from you, Mr. Numbers, like I would think that like you'd be like, oh yeah, it's a huge success regardless of who's playing on it or not.
No, listen, the Wii is a huge success, but the Wii success is predicated on a gimmick. The Wii U success is a gimmick. Oh, the failure was the gimmick. Then even the Nintendo DS was a gimmick. I think what Nintendo does really well is they're good at creating gimmicks to attract the casual fans to the console. The problem is these gimmicks are all very one and done gimmicks. And then my fear for Nintendo is like, when you don't have a gimmick again, well, what do you do? So if you think about it,
I agree with that.
The N64 was like, sorry, the GameCube was a console without a gimmick. There's a reason why when the Wii U came out, the motion control wasn't a thing. So I'll give you an example with the Wii. Nintendo advertised it so well that I was like, man, you could play first-person shooter games like this. You could, pick up a Wii remote as a sword. You can play tennis. Like, this is an innovative way to play games that is a superior way to the actual controller. Now, when I bought the Wii and I, was doing things with the Wii remotes, playing tennis, shooting games, at some point I'm like, this actually isn't a superior way to play games. In fact, it's not even a better way to play games. So the trade-off that I've just done now is I'm playing an inferior controller product and I've lost graphics in response. And I think the best example was the Hogwarts game that came out for the Wii, where on the PS3. Sorry?
Are you talking about Hogwarts Legacy on the Switch?
No. There was a Hogwarts game that came out on the Wii.
Okay, go ahead.
And in this game, right, this was the differentiating factor between it on the consoles PS3 and Xbox 360, was that the 360 and the PS3 had far better graphics, right? And you just press A to use your magic spells or whatever it is. But the Wii was innovative, right? You could use the remote to draw signs to kind of use your powers, which was really cool. The problem is, as time went on, you were like, yeah, this isn't as fun as I thought it would be. Or even the Legend of Zelda, not Tears of the Kingdom, not Skyward Sword.
Princess?
Skyward Sword.
Yeah, Skyward Sword, right? The Wii had crazy, motion controls with it. But when I asked most people who played it, like, do you think it was a superior way from a controller perspective? Some said, yeah, it was fun. But others were like, you could have still used the GameCube controller. Like, I think would have been okay with that. I think that then became the problem. And I think Nintendo even knew that problem. That's why with the Wii U, most of their games didn't really rely on motion controls, because the motion control was actually a gimmick. In the same way the iToy was a gimmick. In the same way the Kinect was a gimmick, right? And then obviously the Wii U bombed. And then you move on even to the DS as well. Same thing with the DS. Hey, you can touch these animals and pet them, Nintendogs, right? That was pretty cool. You could do all these things. Metro Prime, you could use the touchscreen to shoot and aim. It's more precise. FIFA, you could touch the screen. As soon as you buy the DS and you try these methods out, you realize the touchscreen wasn't really that great. It wasn't really that innovative. It was different. It was a cool gimmick, but it wasn't really anything too special. That's why when the 3DS came out, a lot of games just actually kind of ignored those touchscreen elements. So my issue is not my issue. Nintendo seems to predicate the success of the consoles based on a gimmick. And the Switch was actually the best gimmick. And I think it was actually less of a gimmick because it's not really doing much, right? It's just basically saying, hey, you can play. Okay, put it this way. With the Wii, the Wii U, and the DS, Nintendo was changing how you fundamentally play games. Whereas what the Switch is saying is like, we're not changing how you fundamentally play games. We're just telling you can play a game in a different location. So we're giving you more options to play that game. And I think that was perfect. The Switch 2 is going to be
the same.
The same. It's going to be, hey, you can still play your Switch games. It's more traditional, like an Xbox or GameCube, whatever it is. But you can play games, once again, with your friends or whatever outside, etc., etc. So the Switch is actually more competing with traditional consoles, and so is the Switch 2. And that's where I think I'm like, they need to be careful, because now you're moving into the territory of Xbox and PlayStation. And we know this because PlayStation and Xbox are making a handheld console as well to compete. If the Switch 2 was some new gimmicky like thing, Sony and Xbox wouldn't care. They wouldn't even do anything. But they know like, oh, the Switch 2 is basically what we can do. It's more traditional. And the last time Nintendo went up against these guys in a traditional sense, they got spanked really hard. So that's where I think Nintendo really needs to be careful, because now the questions then becomes, and this is why I think third party is really, really important, because now the question is, why do I get a Switch 2 that can play Elden Ring 2 at 30 frames per second at 1080p when I can get an Xbox handheld that has 1080p or probably even 4K at 60 frames per second to play Elden Ring 2, has Game Pass, has Steam, has all these other features, or even the PlayStation Portable, which is supposed to run PlayStation 5 games. Like, why am I picking an inferior Switch version when I can get a superior version over here? And also, we got to consider the fact that, like, if games like Diablo 5 or, GTA isn't coming out on the Switch 2, that is going to hurt us in some way, shape, or form, because those games then become de facto exclusives when you're actually competing in a similar market. Yeah. Because the GameCube's problem was it couldn't get many third-party games. So we're kind of going back to, we're moving similar closer to the GameCube era of competition with Nintendo. So we can assume some of the reasons why that console failed can be applied to the Switch too. So they need to be very, very careful. And I think I said this to you maybe on your podcast, Rome, that Street Fighter should be day one, because you're in the same territory now as competition. You can't have a situation where Xbox games, maybe Diablo 5 or Doom is coming out on PlayStation and Xbox, and the Switch is getting like a port of it 2 years later. That's not gonna look good.
I mean, I think there is a difference between the GameCube generation and the Switch generation. I mean, I think that with the GameCube generation, I think there was more of a disconnect with the mature games coming out to the platform. I mean, yes, there were some, like your Resident Evil 4s and stuff like that, but I think that Nintendo nowadays has much more value on having those more mature experiences. I mean, they're going, like, for example, like they're going to have Call of Duty on the Switch too. Like those things are things that Nintendo now probably looks at differently. Whereas before, Nintendo probably themselves, during the GameCube days, they probably did gear themselves as much more just a kid's box. Whereas, like, obviously Nintendo games are still very family friendly, but at the same time, you are seeing a lot more adult oriented games, and mature rated games coming to the Switch. I mean, really, the only thing stopping them at this point is power for some things, which I know is kind of part of your point of to be concerned for Nintendo. But I just think that the Nintendo now and the Nintendo then are just two totally different beasts. And
I agree. I think there's an element of them maturing to an extent. I think there was an interview where Todd Howard said how Nintendo didn't really care about them or approach them with Skyrim or whatever, but then Nintendo changed their tune and then they ended up bringing Skyrim. But it was this element of we are superior, we're Nintendo, we don't have to go to you, you come to us, and that arrogance led them to losing a lot of large third-party supports with the when the PlayStation 1 came. I think the other factor here that's going to be important is price. Nintendo likes to make a profit off their console. And listen, the Switch is like, was it 7 years, 8 years, 9 years old or whatever, and they still haven't even dropped the freaking price. They're making bank of the Switch because that technology is really freaking old. But they don't care. I mean, they make games like Legend of Zelda as well. Hold on, who's this? Chicken. I can't even say your name, bro. Sorry, my eyes is bad. But it says, ironically, I think the GameCube was where they tried their hardest. They published both Eternal Darkness, Geist, and both M-rated. Yeah, I'll actually say.
They did have M-rated games.
And they
I'm not saying that there were.
I love the GameCube too. I love the GameCube.
Yeah. No, I agree. I love the GameCube too. It's one of my favorite platforms of all time. I love someone name dropping Geist. I fucking love it.
Geist was great.
Crazy.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
So good.
Guys, Eternal Darkness, Resident Evil 4 as well. Mad World.
Oh yeah, they definitely tried with.
Yeah,
they
I
definitely
think they had
tried
Mortal Kombat too. They had a Mortal Kombat game on the
game. I mean, listen, I think the GameCube actually had a lot of good games, and I think it was the last console that had major third-party support. I'll probably say maybe the Switch has more now, but if you think about it, they were still able to kind of game some of the main traditional games that we expected, right? I don't think anyone I think the GameCube had a Splinter Cell on this platform.
They did, yeah. I would. Okay, I'll backpedal a little bit on that one.
But I think price is gonna be important because if the Switch 2 comes out at like $400, oof, I think that might be a problem because it's easy to we can look at why the Wii was successful.
Devereaux, come on over. Devereau's here. He disagrees with you, Ty. He says $400 is the perfect price point for the Super Switch. Devereaux, here, Devereaux, go ahead.
Go on, Dev.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, Ty. No,
Yeah, what's popping, man? Long time no talk.
Yeah, no, I think 400 is the perfect price for the Switch. I think that's what the Switch right now, or the launch Switch was at 250, 350.
Yeah, I think it was like 3.
Yeah, so I think 400. We're going to see price increase for all consoles across the board.
They're going to cost $1,000.
Yeah. So 400. I think 400 would be the perfect price point.
Well, hold on. Chicken Heel Nakano says inflation and comparative pricing will make the Switch 2,400 easily, in my opinion. The Switch 2,400. I saw you said 2,400. Yeah, I mean, I could see 400.
Oh, 200. Oh, yeah. I thought he meant 2,400.
Yeah, sorry, man. My bad. No, I think Chicken is spot on here. I'm actually in agreement with him. Except I don't think 400 is a good price point, because you have to remember, a lot of the Switches and Nintendo's consumer base is very, very casual. And as soon as, for example, the Wii came out at 250, that's such an easy pickup for a side console, right? Now, when you go, even the GameCube was around $200, right? I think it was $250 and $200. Now, as soon as you tell someone like, "Oh, your side console is going to be $400," it was like, whoa, that's the same price as the main console. Like, what are we talking about here?
Wait, what is this?
But I feel like the Switch for a lot of people is their main console. I think, yeah, as long as it's...
The Switch ain't your main console. What are you talking? No, you're lying. The Switch 2 ain't your main console. It's gonna be Xbox, PlayStation, or PC.
I don't know.
If you're a kid, I can see it being your main console.
Kid,
but
for anyone,
I don't think it's
for adults. It's definitely not a main console.
Yeah, it's not going to be a main console. So I think that price needs to be correct.
I think a lot of people are two box kind of people. Like, I think it's usually PlayStation Switch, Xbox Switch, PC Switch, something like that. That's usually what I don't think a lot of people have a Nintendo platform these days as their main box, but at the same time, I also think it's essential to their gaming habits. So
okay, just Chicken says it's still cheaper than the PS5 and Series X. Series S is real competition. I agree there. So are iPads, but the Switch 2 would beat the base iPad at that price too. I think I didn't consider iPads really in the discussion, so maybe I need to reevaluate the way I'm saying it. But I guess my pushback there would be the fact that when we talk about 400 pricing, I think there's a consumer out there that is easily willing to go out and buy these consoles when they're cheap. And the reason why we see the Series S has like 50% sales from the Xbox ecosystem is because it's quite cheap, right? But as soon as you've said the Switch 2 is going to be $400, there's a consumer base that just isn't going to be willing to even like consider that price range. And that's where I think they need to be really careful again, because as soon as you start getting into that price range, the question that becomes, well, okay, what's the other side giving me? And if Xbox is coming out with their handheld console, and for argument's sake, let's say they're actually pricing it around, let's say the $450-$500 mark, you might look at it from a graphics point of view, from okay, this has Game Pass, okay, this has Steam, okay, this has all these other things, and hey, guess what? I could probably play PlayStation games on my Xbox handheld because of, I could get it through Steam. At that point, you start to say, maybe this is a better option. And I think the problem Nintendo has always succeeded on people not thinking that they're in competition with the other console makers. It's just been a side thing. $400 is not really a side thing.
I just want to also kind of point out, I did, because I wanted to let Devereaux kind of jump in. I would be ecstatic if the Nintendo Super Switch is $400. I would be thrilled. I would be in 2025 with the inflation, with maybe tariffs, like with all these things, like I would be extremely, extremely happy to only be spending $400 on my Super Switch next year. Maybe I get your point though, like if you're worried about a price point, but I think $400, keeping in mind that the Super Switch is a handheld, but it also is going to dock to your TV and be the main console. Like that's going to be their next home console. You're looking at it very narrowly that it's strictly a handheld device, but it's like me, like I never take my Switch anywhere. Dev and I have like completely like sun and moon, night and day. He has his Switch with him. Like he brings his Switch everywhere. He plays it on the go. Like it is his primary device just because he's always on the go. He's always doing things. Like me, my Switch almost never leaves my dock. It is sitting right behind the camera. Whenever it only leaves my dock maybe once a year. Like if I go on vacation, I'll take it with me. But like that's it. Like it doesn't. Like I don't take it anywhere. So it's like that's their next home console. You're looking at it as just a handheld.
And I get what you're saying when you say that the handheld for Xbox and handheld for PlayStation are coming out, and there might be competition. But those are just going to replace Xbox and PlayStation. I think you're still not, if you want to play Nintendo games, you still have to get a Switch.
That's what I said earlier. Yeah.
So here's why I even disagree there. But first, Chicken says, I agree. 400 would be the highest they realistically could go for. Anything more, and you just get in a Steam Deck or PS5, which I think I kind of agree with. Like you're starting to get closer to that competition mark of like, hey, listen, maybe a Steam Deck is a better option, or maybe a PS5 is a better option. In terms of sorry, Dev, what'd you say again? Something about replacing the Xbox?
Yeah, I don't see the Xbox handheld and the PlayStation handheld completely replacing the Switch. I think it might hinder sales just a little bit, but the Switch, if you want to play Nintendo games, you have to get a Switch, and that's where that's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
The Xbox handheld is only going to replace Xbox consoles, and the PlayStation handheld will only replace PlayStation consoles.
Altai doesn't like Nintendo games, so he doesn't look at it that way.
Well, you see, I think there's two factors here, right? There's two factors there. I think the question is, what is the handheld market? I think I've said this to you guys before, like maybe a few times now. The handheld market isn't entirely a Nintendo market. It's a market that people are willing to just, people just want to play games on the go, right? So, for example, Sega asked an important question once they released the Sega Mega Drive all those years ago, saying, "Yo, does the console market belong to Nintendo? Because everyone's just buying these Mario games." And Sega said, "No, let's challenge that, right?" And then boom, the Sega Mega Drive did well, etc., etc. Then Sony came in, and then Xbox came in, and it became very clear, like, you know what? Gamers in the handheld markets, if there's only one option, that's what they're going to play. That's what they're going to take. However, once you put in competition, they're going to expand. We had this exact same situation happen with the handheld market when the PSP came out. Nintendo dropped the DS.
The PSP out of town. They ran the PSP out of town.
Hold on. The PSP sold 85 million units. The DS.
Oh yeah, that's great. What happened with the PlayStation and their handheld?
I think it's due to Sony.
No, it is.
Fault.
It is.
Sorry, Cam, what'd you say?
I felt like the PSP died because of Sony. Like they didn't.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, exactly. In the same way, I would say, for example, like the Xbox 360 did extremely well, but then the Xbox One didn't. It didn't do it entirely as well. Or even the Series X. I'll put that blame to the manufacturers. So I think what I'm basically trying to say is like when people say things like, well, it's all about the Nintendo games. Everyone is gonna buy for the Nintendo games. Well, that's somewhat true when we look at consoles like the GameCube or even the N64 to an extent, and even the Wii U. I mean, those were some of the best Nintendo games ever, right? The Wii U had amazing Nintendo games. Why didn't that console sell? Right? The GameCube had amazing Nintendo games. Why did that console sell? Like what's the response?
You're basically saying that as time goes on, Nintendo is going to basically be forced to compete.
Yep. And you know who said this really well? Phil Spencer said it when they were asking him about, this was before the launch of the Series X and S. It's like, hey, listen, we've been through this whole connecting, motion controls, what's going on in the industry? And he said, we know who we are now. We had this experimental phase where we were trying to do things like with VR, Sony's Move controls, Nintendo with the Banjo box, the Wii, the DS, touchscreen, all this kind of stuff. We tried all these things, and those were phases because those gimmicks are dead. They happened for one generation because it was cool and innovative. But as soon as players actually started to play these games and try these things, it was actually not boring. I just want a controller in my hand. And if you look at it, the Switch is actually much closer to the N64 and GameCube than the DS, than the Wii and the Wii U, because the Switch is literally a console that just lets you do two different things. It doesn't change what you fundamentally play. So Nintendo's actually just going back to their roots from a competition point of view. And my argument there is last time that happened was a GameCube era, an N64 era. So Xbox and PlayStation are in a very good position where they can say, oh, we're coming to take your lunch again. We're going to bully you again. We're going to try. Now, I think Nintendo's a lot smarter. They're a lot better. I think they're a lot more competitive. And I think they've kind of they've kind of captured this casual gaming market. However, they can't take that for granted, because at one point there's going to be someone out there who's going to look at the Switch 2 and say, yeah, it was fun as a casual, it was cool, it did this kind of hybrid thing. However, I'm not really interested in the hybrid thing anymore, especially when the other competitors are going to do it. I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, Xbox might not push a hybrid handheld console, but there's going to be third-party devices that they're going to potentially partner with that's going to say, here's a hybrid system.
For sure, but like we've said, like I think at this point you're dealing with a different Nintendo than you dealt with in the past, where I think they're going to see the value in that third party. But I mean, I kind of gotta agree with Dev though. I hear what you're saying, and to a certain extent, sure, like the market share is something they're going to have to be mindful of. But like I think you undersell the juggernauts that they have. Like the corporations of the world would kill so many people to get the mountain of IP, the juggernaut of IP that Nintendo has. Like Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Mario Kart. Like you could just go down the list, and like even some of the lower tier stuff do very well. And it's just
I'm not even going to disagree with that. I think you're on point in the fact that like these IPs are amazing. My only pushback will be, why didn't these IPs, save the N64 or save the GameCube or save the Wii U? So people are stuck in Nintendo's IPs, but then you have these consoles that failed, even though these consoles had amazing Nintendo IPs.
So again, I think that there's reasons you could look at each of the platforms that you listed. I mean, I would choose the Wii U. I mean, I think the Wii U, the biggest problem with the Wii U was a lack of messaging. The reason the Wii U failed was because it was a box that nobody really could understand what it was for. Like a lot of people, like I remember sitting there watching the Wii U reveal and being like, so is it just a controller for the Wii? Like that, and that was me as someone who like knew what I was talking about. Like I'm watching their E3 presentation and whatever it was 2008, 9, whatever, and it's just I think for them it's just like they thought that the casual audience would follow them to the Wii U, but the casual audience had the Wii and they didn't need a Wii U. And I think that's kind of what it comes down to. I think it was a lack of that, and then they clearly had a pipeline issue with their first party support in the Wii U. I mean, like they went a while without games sometimes. So you could diagnose. I mean, I think with the N64 and even the GameCube to an extent, more so the N64, I think that they didn't get a lot of those other, a lot of market share because they were we're doing cartridges, we don't care. Like, and like big games like Tomb Raider and other, games that were easy to produce, they went to PlayStation. Like they lost the Final Fantasy license, where Final Fantasy went to PlayStation, and then Final Fantasy 7 goes on to be one of the biggest games of all time. Like they missed that because they wanted to do cartridges. I mean, it could be diagnosed, and literally a podcast's worth of dialogue and discussion could be had there. But I think at the end of the day, like Nintendo's first party, no matter how bad things get, carry them like even during the bad times. So like I just don't see the successor to the Switch being as extreme as a Wii to Wii U. But I get it. I do get the thought that like there is going to be someone who wants a more high-end handheld, and they're going to lean that way.
Yeah, I think to be clear, I think Nintendo's gonna dominate the handheld market. I think Switch 2 is gonna take everyone's lunch, because I don't think Sony and Xbox are looking at the handheld space and thinking, oh, we're trying to take 50%, 70% share. But I think it's just a factor that they want to establish themselves, and then they want to start picking at that share slowly. And whatever Nintendo does, remember, I think the key thing is that Nintendo has done a great job at innovation, at giving people new ways to play these games. But when these guys start saying like, okay, we're just gonna keep copying you now, and we're gonna like actually compete in this space, the question is, do they have the resources to? And I think they do, because it's very easy now. Sony doesn't have to make a Move controller 2. Xbox doesn't have to make a Kinect 2. All they need to do is just make a hardware and then just put their games on it. Remember, like Diablo is going to work on the Xbox handheld in the same way it works on the console. So it's not really a task in thing to compete. In fact, the reason why the PS Vita, Sony gave up on the Vita was because it had multiple different SKUs. They had to create separate games for the Vita, which was a problem, and they had to court developers in the same way that Sony's given up on the PlayStation VR console, because it's all a different SKU, it's all different money, and it just doesn't make sense. However, if they can make a handheld console and every PS5 game is easily ported to that console, I mean, it's just such a win. It's like, oh, we're competing now in the same way we did with the GameCube. This is simple. Like this is not much competition. So I think that's the issues they face. Ushers, how you doing? Welcome.
Yo, all good, all good. I see you're slandering Nintendo again.
Yeah, I mean, me and Ushers.
That's how he does it.
Oh, it's good. It's good, bro.
We had this discussion last time about back and forth with Nintendo about how they should be wary of Xbox and PlayStation coming through. And Ushers was very staunch in defending Nintendo. I think Nintendo are. I think what I said they suck.
Nintendo's cooked, bro. That's what you think.
Ty must feel like so left out when like the big Nintendo games come out and everybody's playing them, and he's just sitting at home, just like staring at a wall or something.
Hey, listen, man. I'm just trying to give like all these takes actually came from people like you guys, right? Because I think it might have been someone said like, "Oh, Nintendo is special. They don't have to worry about anything," and I was like, "Huh." That sounds like bullshit.
It's not. You can, dude. Nintendo could lose, and this was before the Switch. Like during the Wii U days, like someone asked. It was at an investor call. Nintendo. Someone asked Satoru Iwata like financially, and like they could lose like millions of dollars a year, like loss in profit for like 80 years, and they would still be a profitable company. Like they wouldn't go under. And it's like, and that was before the juggernaut that was the Switch. Do you think that, like, Nintendo is fine? Like, Nintendo wouldn't go bankrupt in our lifetimes. They would have to legitimately, purposely burn billions and billions of dollars that they have in the bank right now. Like, the problem you don't need, like, it's just not even a worry.
The problem with that statement is that Nintendo is a publicly listed company. So, and if they start failing, it doesn't matter if they have profit, everyone's going to take out their shares, which is going to affect their money even more. And before you know it, them stocks are going to be worth like fucking $2. And people are going to say, yeah, you can use to sell this company off.
And then they'll put a new Mario game out and the stocks will shoot right back up. Like, what's your point?
Yeah. I mean, Mario Sunshine didn't help those stocks shoot back up, did it? No. Mario Galaxy 2 didn't help that. Didn't help the Wii U either. Well, it's just you want to reiterate some of your points.
It wasn't even a Wii U game, dude. What are you talking about?
I feel like I mean, I think it's like I think everyone here, maybe just except you, agrees. Like Nintendo's place in gaming, as I said, like when we were talking Friday, it's solidified. Like there's nothing like they've gone through. I think like in life you have like a whole like for you to have a full experience you have to go through the whole 360. They've done that. Like they've sort of like been through every single sort of like within these different circles, different generations. They've experienced all the failures, all the successes. They know like if there's anyone that can predict or that can sort of like carve a niche for themselves to survive any era, it's Nintendo, because they've seen almost every sort of a different outcome when it comes to these little skirmishes and then the gaming business. And the most important thing about Nintendo and why they'll always be in gaming, which I think everybody always neglects, is that Nintendo is a gaming company first. They only care about making video games. They're not trying to make you movie experiences or whatnot. So they're not trying to sell you
Technically, now they're getting into movies.
But yeah, like I mean, of course, that's like the expanding. Yeah. Like that's always the whole point of like having a franchise is expanding to different avenues. But I'm saying like within gaming, they're not trying to make AAA movie type experiences. Nor are they trying to sell you an all-in-one solution to for your gaming, like Microsoft, where you can take your games everywhere, everything is your platform type of thing. So like their heart is making good games and then selling you good games. Whether or not those appeal to you, the bottom line is that there'll always be an audience for them.
Yep.
I'm gonna agree there. I think that's a fair shout out. But I think it kind of speaks to this idea, and I wonder maybe you guys can chime in on this one. Um, Xbox or Phil has kind of pushed this narrative that you got to go to the consumers to sell your games. Yes, there is a portion of consumers that will buy your products just to play your games, but has there been a major shift in consumer thinking? So, for example, does Nintendo need to put Pokemon TCG on the mobile phones because those consumers are not going to buy a Switch to play TCG game? They want to play it on their mobile phones. Does Hoyoverse, whatever they're called, did they need to put their games not just on PC but on mobile phones and their PC launcher, because there's PC gamers out there who are just not going to go play these games on the mobile phones, and there's also mobile phone gamers who are not going to go and play these games on the PC. So Ken, I'll put that to you first. Are we in a situation where consumers are more resistant to actually purchasing products to play games?
Purchasing products to play games. I would say yes, because of free-to-play games. Free-to-play games, similar to like music and stuff, I think a lot of consumers don't want to pay for shit, which makes sense. Nobody wants to spend their money, especially when they think they're getting shortcut. I definitely think we're in the age of we're getting out of exclusives. Why we're getting so many games on so many platforms. I just feel that games that have a less barrier to entry are just killing it right now.
Oh, yeah, like Phil Spencer said, the biggest games are bigger than any platform. Fortnite goes beyond, Xbox, or even Final Fantasy. I haven't bought Final Fantasy 16 or any of these games because I just don't want to buy a PlayStation 5. Yeah. I'm already here, bring the game to me. So, yeah, I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah, there aren't that many games that are system sellers anymore. Especially, there hasn't been a new game that's been a new IP that's been a system seller per se.
Yeah, Helldivers even comes to mind as well. Listen, I'm only gonna play that game if it's on Xbox. Like, I'm not gonna bother with buying a PS5 for that shit. So Sony, if you're listening, just bring it on Xbox. You're gonna get new consumers. But yeah, so I don't know. Is that idea that people are moving more towards like, no, you need to come to where I am, as opposed to like, okay, I'll go to where you are. Rome, what are your thoughts?
So I think in some ways Nintendo does that, right? I think that in terms of the games that they sell, I don't think that they do that. Like, I do think that, like, we joke about on our podcast all the time, where we're talking about like Nintendo, like you're just in an abusive relationship with Nintendo. You know what I mean? Where it's just like you're gonna take what they give you and you're gonna fucking like it. You know what I mean? So it's like it is kind of weird in that regards, but I think they are at the same time coming to their customers in different ways, where they're really trying to further ingrain themselves into pop culture, right? Like they're doing the movies, like they're trying to make themselves, desirable and undeniable. Like, the Mario movie came out, and like that did very well for them. Now they're making a Zelda movie, like they have the Universal theme park stuff. Like Nintendo is in a way taking their IP to the consumer, but when it comes to the games itself, they want the consumer to still come to them. And I mean, like, like you said, they're putting games on the mobile device as well, and that is them going to the consumer in a way, but that is only a means to an end to get you to get onto the platform. You know what I mean? Like when they put out Mario Run, it's like they could have put out like a real like a more legitimate Mario game, but instead they put out this game that, like, hey, if you like Mario, like something to do. If you want more, we have our Switch over here. You know what I mean? And like it's the same thing with like Pokemon Go and then Pokemon TCG, like that, and Fire Emblem. I forget what it's called, but the Fire Emblem gacha game that they put out.
Heroes.
Yeah, Heroes. Thank you. And just like that's what it is. It's like Heroes plays just like Fire Emblem, and like they're going to take that money and they're going to bring that money in from that. But if you're looking for a more substantial Fire Emblem experience, if that gives you that itch, than like, hey, go buy a Switch and buy Fire Emblem Three Houses or Engage. So it's like, I think they're kind of trying to play it both ways, and again, it works for them. They further ingrain themselves in pop culture, especially like with the new generation of kids coming up, where like, yeah, a lot of them play Roblox and stuff like that. But like when I'm like, if I'm at like a family event and or like I see, or if I'm at work and like customers are bringing their kids in or whatever, like I still see them in Pokemon gear. Like, I walk into a Target or a Walmart and we walk past the kids' clothing section. Like, there's still a lot of Pokemon stuff there, and Mario stuff. Like, Nintendo clearly is still, it's going to where the kids are. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think they're kind of playing it both ways. But
Yeah,
you're
I get
talking
you.
about like their main gaming. They're gonna give you what they want to give you, and you buy it. And that's just unfortunately, for better or worse. Is it for better or is it for worse, Dev?
I think it's for better.
It's for better? Okay.
Yeah.
For better. Is that what Dev said? For better?
Yeah, Dev says it's for better. The way Nintendo does it is for better. I probably would lean for better too. I mean, the software they put out is phenomenal. I mean, it's hard to argue with the results.
I agree with you, Ty, that like today everyone has a phone to game in, but I think that's all a more reason that the Switch 2 is going to succeed. We've already seen other versions of handheld gaming out there, whether it's on your phone or like a portable computer device, like the ROGs stuff.
Mhm.
But none of those devices, I don't think, have put a dent in the Switch sales.
That's true. I think it's true.
And yeah, I get they're expensive and they're only going to get cheaper, but I don't think people are still going to want a Nintendo experience. Nintendo experience is exclusive.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some pushbacks, but you know what? I'll just move on to Ushers. Ushers, let us know. Are we in a situation or in a position now where publishers, developers, and platform holders must start to look at, where are the consumers being based, and we need to go to them as opposed to trying to get them to come to us.
Nah, man. Like I think just if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Like I that's like my biggest gripe with Xbox has always been is that like they constantly fixing things that don't need fixing. Like they don't address the problems. They just say, we never tried that. Like even though it's working for them, let's go try something completely new. Like they always pivot before they can have anything that actually, or before giving something a chance that actually works. So like as long as Nintendo just sticks to what they do best, which is make awesome titles that everyone wants to play, that everyone enjoys, I don't think there's any need for you to come up with all these different sort of and stop. And I think Nintendo's philosophy has always been, don't listen to the market, because the market, if you ask them, they'll tell you that they want the latest thing. He says that's not how you make a good game. Like you make a good game by being creative, by finding new ways to sort of like get people interested in playing games, not by looking at what's the most popular thing or what are kids playing, what are they playing on. And that's my problem with Phil. Every time I like Phil speaks, it's like he's just reading the latest market survey, like in terms of like what's current. Yes, we all know kids are all playing Roblox on their cell phones. Yay, that's not news. That's just do you want the only thing that you need to decide is, do you want to court that market, or do you want a core market that's actually going to support your product and not just one thing? I mean, yeah. So I think Nintendo's on the right path, and it's just it works. Like, and they don't need to fix anything.
Okay. That take I expected, more or less. I'm not surprised. But listen, we've been podcasting for like a few hours. Ken, do you have any topics that you wanted to take off before we all head out?
Yeah, I have a short one related to the Game Awards. What trailers do you guys want to see? I know for me,
I would have said Exodus from Humanoid Origins, but they closed down. But they closed down a few days ago. Casey Hudson Studios done. So I think that's a huge blow, because
wait, is that the game from last year with Matthew McConaughey? That
no. Oh, sorry, no. Sorry, that's Exodus. But close. Casey Hudson had his own studio, Humanoid Origins, and their studios just closed down. So that would have been at the top of my list. Now that that's gone, I think it has to be something new. There's no game I can really think of, but I'll say something new from some crazy developer.
I think I have some.
Okay.
Do you know what I'll say? Actually, I'll say something from Sony. I want like Naughty Dog's next game. I want Neil Druckmann's next game. Yeah, that'll be my take.
I think definitely something from GTA 6. I think we see that.
Okay.
No, I mean, you think we'll see that, or is that what you want to see?
It's both.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna kind of go a similar route. Well, I have two picks. One I think we will see and want to see, and then the other one I would like to see. Fable. I'd like to get like a new trailer and a release date. I think we see a good look at Fable, and here's what you do: you drop maybe you don't give the release date at the Game Awards, but give a trailer and be like, hey, next month, January, we're doing our next developer direct. Fable will be there, and we'll give you the release date for Fable on that direct. And then the other thing, new 3D Mario. I think that I would really be surprised if we get through the Game Awards without something about the next Nintendo console. I don't know if Nintendo will show it at Jeff Keighley's E3, winter E3, but I could see them doing like a Mario reveal or something that's like, and it's going to be on our next platform, because that's like the most Nintendo thing ever, is announcing the next Mario game before you even show the new console. Like that's what they would do. They would 100% do that, where it's like, we know you'll buy the next console. Like, you don't even know what the name of it is yet, but here's Mario. Like so I think we will see that, and I want to see that. And then I would like to see Fable.
Do you think we see Pokemon Z to A or A to Z?
I mean, they usually do the big Pokemon Directs in February, so like, I don't know. That's a good one though. Maybe. I would like to see it.
How about you?
So the only thing I can think of that like I'm really sort of like interested in that's coming up is that new Captain America Black Panther game.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good pick.
Yeah, so like we've not seen much. I think they showed like a cutscene, but I haven't seen any much in terms of gameplay and how just I would really love to know more. It looks like a very interesting project, and it looks like it's for the lack of a better word, a next gen tailored experience that's going to be taking advantage of all the bells and whistles, of all these machines that we've had for a couple of years now. Yeah. Let's see.
Ken, well, what's your pick?
Dun 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 dun. That's my pick. Dun dun dun. James Bond. By IO. I think
that's probably due actually, right?
Yeah, this was announced a few years ago now. I think around COVID. I think it was announced, or maybe a little bit before. I think this is. I always keep saying it. I think the collab makes so much sense.
Yeah.
The IP and the studio just makes all the sense in the world, and I'm excited for it. It's a new James Bond. I want to know what they're gonna do with it.
Okay. You said you had another question?
No, I think that was it. That was the last question I got.
How about this? Do you guys expect any not console but any device reveals at the Game Awards? Cautious?
Nah, nothing. Like like maybe Nintendo. But like Nintendo does their own thing when they don't do reveals at like other people's shows. So no, not at all. Like what would be nice is if Microsoft announced maybe a Elite 3
controllers. Okay.
That would be, I mean, that's what they do sell very well as controllers. They might as well.
I feel like even though it's a statement of fact, it was a jab. It was some kind of shot.
That's so funny.
Controllers, losers. How about you, Rob? Just any device you and Dave?
First of all, Xbox controllers rock. So just want to get that out of the way. I love my Xbox controllers. I mean, I know that we've talked about this on our podcast, and like even I know Phil's saying like a few years away, but like You're delusional. I'm just saying, like they could drop like a concept thing where it's like the next Xbox, like the handheld or whatever. I know it's soon, but like, there's just I don't know. There's something in the messaging. Like, I just see it. Would I be surprised if I'm wrong? No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm not. I don't feel very strongly about it, but
trailer you're going to get is everything is in Xbox.
probably, yeah. That's probably what it's going to be. I also agree, though. I don't think we see the Nintendo console. I don't think we see the Super Switch. Like, again, like they're going to do their own direct, like probably in January, maybe February. But yeah, I that's why I think you'll see Mario there just to get that buzz going. But yeah, I don't. Outside of like a maybe Hail Mary Xbox handheld, very early reveal that it exists. Like, I don't see anything. No.
Okay. How about you, Ken? Any devices lined up?
Nah, this isn't. I know they did the Series X here, but I don't really feel like the Game Awards is for hardware. So I'm gonna go with no.
I would actually lean towards what Rome is saying about the handheld, because the Series X, I think they showed it in 2019 at the Game Awards, and then they launched it in 2020. So that's a 1 year difference. If Microsoft is willing to release the Xbox handheld in a couple of years, so let's say 2 years from now, you could show it at the Game Awards now, and then you could probably release it maybe not 2025 or early 2026. I think you could make that work. And one of the reasons why you probably might make that work is because when the Switch 2 comes out next year, I don't think you really want to be, showing off your handheld, really. Like, it's just that whole year is for Nintendo. So it's probably better to kind of maybe show yours off first, and then just drop it, after a year after then Nintendo does this. I can see how this makes sense, but at the same time, it is kind of maybe just a little bit too early to announce it, because from the date of showing to the date of launch could be a year and a half to 2 years. So,
but if the Switch, if it's coming out, if the Xbox handheld's coming out 2 years from now, don't you think it'd be better to show it 1 year from now?
That's what I agree with you.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, I think that makes sense
at
logically.
That point, Switch 2 would already be a year old, so you would kind of have the floor to yourself if you show it next year.
So I'm going to devil's advocate a little bit here, and kind of also, like, I see the validity of what Ty is saying, because it would make sense from a perspective. I mean, if Ty's correct and he said, he sees the Xbox handheld and the PlayStation handheld as being legit concern for Nintendo, from a competitor's perspective, it would make sense to get at least the thought that you exist out there before the Super Switch comes out. Like, if Xbox comes out ahead of Nintendo and they say, hey, we're making a handheld, we're a couple years out, but like, it's coming, which they've already pretty much confirmed it is, so you might as well just throw like a concept trailer out there. Like, it makes sense, because there might be, Xbox would hope that maybe there's someone who wants to buy, a handheld console, and they want to buy the Super Switch, but they want a more high-end experience. They'll be like, okay, well, I know Xbox is coming up with something. In the meantime, I can, mess around on my phone and do streaming or whatever. Like, I get the logic there, and that's why I kind of think that, like, is it too soon? Yeah, but like, from a competitor perspective, like, getting out in front of a juggernaut,
even to add to that, if we're talking about next year, Nintendo's gonna drop obviously they're dropping the Switch 2, but they also might drop a big game next year, right? That might be maybe a Mario, it could be a Zelda, it could be whatever it is. And I don't know if you really want a Nintendo Switch 2 trailer at the Game Awards along with like the new Nintendo Zelda game, and then you then say, hey, we're making a handheld too as well. Like, that's just going to get overshadowed with whatever Nintendo game is going to be shown. So you might just want to, like, plant that seed in people's heads, like, hey, listen, we're going to show you a handheld now, and it's going to be the only device at the Game Awards. So it's going to have some kind of a mind share. People are going to talk about it, like, oh, we've seen the Xbox One handheld, it looks sexy. Oh, they showed us some really, really cool games on it. I think that's a bigger win, and you're going to have more mind share than if you did this next year when the Nintendo Switch 2 is out.
Yeah.
Any more questions, guys? Any last ones before we all head off?
No,
they're good.
Okay, I think that was a good chat, man. Rome, thanks for coming through in the end. Ushers, thanks for coming through as well. Kenwal, as usual, it was good to see you guys and talk to. If you're not watching this, we'll be back next week as well. So hit that like button, and Rome, I'll try to put your I'll put your link in the description. Kenwal, same for you too as well. Ushers, I'll do that too as well.
Appreciate it.
Ciao, guys.
Appreciate it.
Also,
All right, fellas, take it easy.
Yep.
Safe.
See ya.
But